Right, let's do some street talk. We have got 7 stories to chat about in this week's Coronation Street, starting with petering out. Blimey, you said earlier in the podcast that this week was dull for you, and I was feeling a bit more positive on it. But Wednesday's episode, that was a slog. Thanks very much to this storyline.
Blaming anyone but myself for this.
You're not blaming me. I'm the one that makes you do it about it. What you mean? You said that this week's Corrie was you're kind of down on it.
I don't even know if it was good or bad.
Was it the mix of stories?
No, I don't. I think I'm just more.
We're doing more. We're also then talking about, we've got the size supplies story / the Oh My Goth story, because they kind of merged beautifully this week. And they were the 2 big stories, and everything else was pretty small. We had the telesales and marketing, the Downward Dobbs, the Jeff Free Metcalf, Happy Ever After is my new storyline title for the week, which is Kevin and Sally's upcoming nuptials. And finally we had He's New Ron, which you can only keep going for so long because he is not particularly new Ron anymore, but never mind, they're still waiting to get started properly on his story, so I'm going to keep calling it that.
Also, you could use that if he was very cerebral. New Ron.
Oh yeah.
that could be a superhero name if he was really smart.
Now, because I really did enjoy the Simon, Leanne, Jacob and teenage girls story this week, actually. I did. I thought it was great. And you were not fussed about any of them particularly. No. I'm going to at least Bagsy that Simon storyline, which means sadly for you got to do the Peter one.
When I was watching the Simon story earlier today, I was like, and Leanne was like, "Oh my God, Simon, we have to go to the police. How?" And Simon was like, "We can't." And I was like, "Oh my, I'm so tired. Oh, you're making me tired."
You've had a tiring week or something.
I haven't. Petering out. That's
anyway,
what I'm doing.
That's enough about you.
Right, what about Peter? Monday, he's fed up with being babysat, he tells Carla, and then she sees Steve and says, "I'm really worried. I think we should babysit him more." And Peter says to Steve, "Can I please have some shifts at streetcars to
not
give
in
me
the
something
driving
to do?"
car, silly.
I'm not going to drive. I'm just going to answer the phone. Any idiot can do that. All right, Eileen.
I think because Peter's an ex-Navy man, when he answers the phone, it's ahoy hoy.
Yeah, well,
classic way.
I think that's legally how you're supposed to do it if you've been into Navy. Nick tells Carla that Peter needs to actually do something about his son because Leanne's getting worried and she's almost as tired of it as I am. Simon sees so Peter's wobbling around trying to get. He's decided to go to Roy's to get some coffee to start his shift at the streetcars. And Simon sees him wobbling around and he's really shocked. He's
just like, he's lurching down the road, with right arm out.
I think he throws the coffee on the floor by accident. And he's like, "Oh, it's just how it is when you've got alcohol withdrawal."
Don't worry, Simon, I'm fine. I'm getting better.
To streetcars, and he doesn't actually even go there in the end. I think he goes home.
Yes, he does.
Lucas,
he's back.
Creepy weirdo.
He didn't come in as a creepy character particularly when he was introduced a month or so ago.
Him in a minute.
But yeah, he's definitely up there now.
He comes in for a meeting with Carla and he's like, "Oh, isn't Peter horrible? Why don't we go somewhere more relaxed to talk about our business?" Simon sees Ken in the street and says, "I'm worried about him. I'm worried about my dad." And Ken says, "Let's go and have a lovely cup of tea at Roy's and catch up, because I haven't spoken to you for ages and I wonder how your drugs are doing."
No, that's the wrong story.
Lucas and Carla are in the Rovers and he's like, "Oh, I know what it's like to be going out with an addict. They always choose their addiction over their family and their loved ones. It's really tough. Don't know how you cope. You're worth more than this. You're wonderful." And he's just horrible. Ken tells Simon that everything will be fine and he can always talk to Ken. And Simon's like, "Oh, that's great," because he's one of the main characters. Steve goes back to number 1 and he finds Peter huffing and puffing on the sofa, looking incredibly sick.
I think they accidentally swapped Molly Gallagher and Chris Gascoigne's makeup around.
I think they were sharing it, to be honest. He looked so
she was giving him tips,
didn't he?
Just put on the purple lipstick to finish it off, Chris.
It would have looked quite metal if he had lipstick on. Actually, he did look like a corpse man, didn't he?
It's like. It's reached the stage where it's like, is he really supposed to look that way, or is it because Chris was doing his own makeup because that's how they're doing it at the moment? It's like, or did it have to be put on like that because it's, for the cameras? He just looked.
I don't think he's really sick, Michael.
He looked like a sheep.
Yes. Steve immediately decides that he's had something to drink. He's back on the sauce and he is absolutely disgusted.
Can I just give you a little spoiler for the end of this street talk? Steve McDonald is not getting Character of the Week this week. No, Steve McDonald, what the hell were you on this week?
He's a horrible...
More on that later.
Naughty, naughty boy. He's just really... This is always what happens, though. When a character's in the wrong, they're always in the wrong to, like, the nth degree. They never sort of subtly hedge their bets, do they? Or sort of give any room for doubt. They always just steamroller in there to make it as worse as possible. So that elephant in a china.
You're right, it's cliche, but this week, we'll talk about it more later, but this was the worst. Steve, I hated it.
Maybe the reason I had such a problem was that everyone was just being so despicable, and it wasn't even funny and dramatic. Like I normally like. I don't really mind it when people are horrible because you can sort of go, ha ha ha. At least they're not being mean to me, But this week I was just like, everyone's. Were
you one of the people on the sidelines of the playground when the bully was kicking 7 pounds out of the pool?
Go on. No, I was going scrap. That's what you're supposed to do. Scrap. I was just this week was just so disheartening.
It's
real life
nice that sometimes that we can
on
have
television. It was literally like I wish you could just cut this week out and throw it in the bin. So yeah, Steve wasn't helping. He was being very sanctimonious, locking all the doors.
Yes, that's the word.
He's saying, "You're not having a drink on my watch." So Lucas is talking about, he's being sanctimonious as well. I exercise every day. I go, apart from, he runs 5 miles every morning, apart from the weekends where he goes mountain climbing or mountain biking.
He's got a 6-pack, hasn't he? Apparently, he's like, I just don't like the idea of the alternative.
How rude! What, having a lie-in?
And he's got a shaved chest, hasn't he, Carlos? I bet you shave your chest, and he's like, well,
No, I mean, no. Look, if you do that, good. You're obviously a better human being than all of us lazy arseholes. But if somebody said that to me and they were trying to impress me as like a potential future like date or partner, I'd check out. I'm not interested in that at all.
I know. Anyway, if she's going out with Peter, then maybe she likes a bit of something to grab onto.
Yeah,
to rub her fingers through.
Yeah, but he's just saying, "I'm sober," and Steve's like, "No, you're not." And he gets a call and he has to leave, so he locks him in. He's like, "Yo, I'm not letting you out to go on the booze again."
Whenever anybody gets locked in the house on the soap, something will go wrong. They just
almost immediately nearly die.
Yeah.
How is this possible? The rest of the time they're perfectly fine and autonomous, and no danger whatsoever. But as soon as that door gets locked, they're like, the knives come out. They start stabbing themselves in the face by accident, licking chemicals out of the
plug
under the sink. So anyway, Carla goes to check on Pete. No, she's supposed to go and check on Peter, but she doesn't. She goes off for a drink with Lucas in town.
She does need a little bit of arm twisting, to be fair.
Well, he's
like,
go on, really strong, so he can just like dislocate her arm. Steve comes back later, and Peter's saying, "I need an ambulance," and Peter and Steve says, "No, you don't need an ambulance. You need to stop drinking." And then he mentions this was when Steve suddenly remembers that he had a dead kid, and he starts acting all like taking it out on Peter, like saying, "Oh, how come Oliver died and you didn't?" Basically,
yeah.
My son could have lived, and you're here with your health, throwing your health away and drinking when he didn't even get a chance, and you've been given so many chances and you've thrown them away. And so Peter says, "Oh, who's Oliver?"
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, he gets really.
It would have been worse if he'd have said that to Michelle about Rory.
Well, this was the week that Steve joined the My Son Club, which is Michelle and Sean's special one that they have together. But now Steve's joined, and I think Leanne thinks she's the chairperson.
Yeah, she's there,
So he's...
This was also the week where... actually, no, I'm not...
Steve says, I give up on you. I hate you. I'm going. And then Steve Peter collapses on the floor. So then...
Yeah, this was the week where everybody collapsed. We had Peter collapsing.
This is
we
substance
had
abuse.
Kirk collapsing when he slipped on Sean's face oil or whatever it was.
That was
and we had Kelly
abuse.
Collapsing today. There's only so much drama you can wring out of people finding people on the floor.
All I'm saying, Coronation Street, is can we not have a positive story about alcohol and drug abuse? Just once. Somebody's got to enjoy themselves. So anyway, Steve tells Tracy what's happened and she's worried about him. She goes back to see if he's okay. He's on the floor. Going, I told you so. So Steve runs off to the factory, tells Nick. He still thinks that it's because he's drunk and it's alcohol poisoning. And Nick says to Carla, this guy is bad news.
Bin him off.
Bin him off. Carla and Lucas have had a lovely time. Oh no, he says that Carla needs to, but she's not there yet. She's coming back from the tram stop and Steve sees her and says, oh no. And she feels guilty about it. And Steve says, don't worry about it. It's not even anyone's fault apart from Peter's himself. He only has himself to blame.
And now we have Wednesday.
Peter's in the hospital and he doesn't know what's happened. And he definitely didn't drink for sure. And Carla's not sure because Steve says he was. And why would Steve say such a thing if it wasn't true? Good question. Lucas comes into the hospital to see how everyone's doing. And he sort of makes a bit of small talk, but really he's just there to try to lure Carla back to Devon.
Do you want to make your comment about scones now? Because
no,
usually you can't mention Devon without
scones.
I'll tell you what. I show the children in my class today. We're doing about rainforest as a topic, right? You know,
what's that got to do with Coronation Street?
I've got a link here. You know that animal that is well known for hanging from trees in the rainforest, and they're very kind of slow and lazy, and they're sleepy.
Pandas.
No. You know what I mean?
I do.
What sort of animal would you call that as? How would you?
What's the name of it?
What's the name of that animal?
Sloth.
Thank you very much. I was saying it was a sloth, and all these children in my class were insisting that it was a sloth. They're saying sloth, 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 and then I was talking to them about it, and I was saying sloth.
It comes off.
I was saying sloth, and they were saying, Mr. Dodson, it's not sloth, it's sloth. And then I did a little Google search, and I translated it, and I showed them.
Well, you know what? It's important.
And that's what it's got to do with, because it's like scones and scones.
Which it's important that your children feel comfortable to challenge you if they feel that you're not giving them the correct information.
Yeah, I rub it in their faces.
You sensibly referred to a greater authority, of course, Google.
Yes.
And you solved the problem together.
Yeah.
And all respectfully agreed upon reality, which is something that we can't do in society anymore. We don't live in the same reality as each other anymore.
I wonder what happens if you go to Google and you search for scones or scones and you click the little thing. What does it say? Or is it like a robot that's been confronted with I say is a lie and it just explodes? I don't know. Anyway, we're just trying to put off talking about this Peter story.
Come to Devon with me, and she says, "Ooh."
This episode, one of my many problems with this Wednesday's episode was it was just like a parade of people coming to visit Peter, wasn't it? He was there in his hospital bed, and it's like, Carla's come to visit, now Lucas has come to visit, now Steve's come to visit, now Ken's come to visit, and now Carla's come to visit again.
Christmas Carol. Everyone was the ghost of Christmas something.
Yeah. And all the time Peter was just saying, hi there, thanks for visiting me. I'm not drinking. Yes, you are. Bye. Next person.
Yeah,
I'm not drinking. Yes, you are. No, I'm really not. I'm not drinking. Hello. Yes, you are. You're not drinking. Peter's not been drinking. Right. Haha, I told you so. That's the script for Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really annoying because it was like, oh man, he wasn't drinking, but he really brought it on himself here.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I don't think he doesn't lie all that much. And when he does, it's really unconvincing. Like in the past, he's definitely said, oh no, I'm not drinking. And he's sitting there with like vodka in his hand. You can kind of tell. Anyway.
He's been fairly truthful about his alcoholism
really
recently, hasn't he? Like the other week when he pulled that bottle of vodka out of his coat.
And he's been using it as a weapon against Carla as well.
Yeah.
And he has been self-pitying, and he has just cried when he's done it and said, oh, I don't deserve, whatever.
Or he's been saying, yeah, I've been drinking, so what? Glug, 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 right in front of you.
What are you going to do about it?
So you've got no need to, to lie about it.
Well, anyway, he says, come to Devon, does Lucas, and Carla's looking tempted, and Steve sees this, and he tells her to go to Devon because Peter is a waste of space. And Lucas goes back to his car, but Carla's like, ooh. Then Ken comes to the hospital, then Carla goes to see Peter, and he says, oh, I love you, I need you. And she says, I love you, but I'm leaving you because you're awful and you keep drinking.
Well, it's the fact that he says, I need you, and I think to Carla that comes across as, I'm desperate for you, I need you, rather than... It
literally feeds into everything Lucas was saying to her previously about how her needs will be subsumed by Peter's addiction.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the word, that was like a trigger word, wasn't it? And he says, I'll make it through this, I'll look after you like a proper partner. And she says, I can't believe your promises, I will always love you, but that's it. And then the doctor's comes in like, oh, hello, I'm here to tell everybody the truth about what happened to Peter. And this felt this was like, in real life this would never happen to you, that somebody would come in like on a white horse and just tell everybody that's been calling you a liar, put them all in their place with science. Can you imagine how wonderful that would be if you was having an argument with people and they were telling you something, they wouldn't listen to you, and then somebody just came in like, hello, I'm a doctor, she's completely right, everything she's just said is correct, and here's the science to prove it.
The problem with this was, like, I don't know whether as viewers we were supposed to be thinking, oh, I wonder if Peter is drinking, but the way that it was so, clumsily written and slathered on thick.
Because they protested so much that he was drinking, it became obvious that he wasn't.
I was in no way thinking
nobody
that he
was surprised, I don't think. The doctor came in and says, oh,
it was supposed to be this big revelation. What? He's telling the truth all this time? It was obvious.
I also don't understand why this wasn't told to them in advance. This feels like the sort of thing you give people a heads up.
Yeah.
On, like, oh yeah, we should have told you this before now. But yeah, sometimes when you have alcohol, when you withdraw from alcohol, you can actually get symptoms that looks like you're completely drunk. Yeah, that would have been useful to know. Actually, here's a leaflet. Yeah. So anyway, she says there's no trace of alcohol in the blood. He has hepatic encephalopathy.
It gets called HE, but I did a little bit of research after.
Hepatic
encephalopathy. No wonder they just call it HE. What it is, everybody, is a decline in brain function that occurs as a result of severe liver disease.
You've written brain function.
I think I've got it. That's why he didn't know who Ollie was.
Too many toxins in his body, and Peter's like, haha.
He was
take that.
And then he was just smug.
I would
for the
be
rest of the episode.
Smug for the rest of my life.
I don't blame him. Yeah.
I would demand tribute, such as grapes and chocolates. So Carla's grovelling and says, "Oh, can I take it back?" And he's like, "Well, whatever. If it makes you happy, I don't even care." So Carla leaves and goes to talk to Lucas outside the factory. She says, I would never leave with him, with you. I'm just angry at Peter.
She's like, I know that I said that I was going to go to Devon.
I was only joking. You fell for it.
I was just mad at Peter.
And he says, it's only a matter of time. Yeah. Which is true.
Yeah.
And you're going to keep circling the drain, which is true. And then this little scumbag.
I said on Facebook group the other day that this is very meta, but he didn't say circling the drain. I think that was my words. But this is basically what it is. This story is just a rinse and repeat. Peter's drinking or not drinking. Peter's found collapse. Carla and Peter split up. Carla and Peter get back together again.
Yeah, it's really boring.
And Lucas is pointing this out.
Yeah, it's like you guys are boring.
I think the script writer is like a protest saying, "Why are you making me write the same episode again?" Yeah,
Lucas should just say, "Look, I know you love him and stuff, but this is dull. This is really boring now.
Come to Devon."
I was trying initially this. I was saying I kind of like this new direction they're going in with Peter really facing the consequences of his years and years and years and years and years and years of this same story, where his got liver failure, and what does that mean, and how is he going to cope, and what is how do you
how does he face his own mortality?
But also the medical process and doing his own detox and things like that because of the strain that the service is under, because how many people have the same problem. And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm, going to indulge this because I think this is interesting. And now it's just back to the same boring rubbish again.
It is, and Lucas is such a plot device, isn't he?
I'm really not interested in either character anymore. I think they're just boring. Yeah. What personalities are there here that you wouldn't be able to transplant this story to any other character? Any other two characters would be the same thing, honestly. I'm over it, so over it. So, Lucas turns into a creepy rom-com movie protagonist from the 90s where his obsessive, stalkerish behaviour is supposed to be charming and romantic. It is actually just really creepy and obsessive. So he goes to see Peter and says, let Carla go. I love her and I will look after her. And Peter's like, nope. And Lucas says, if Carla stays with you, it'll only be out of pity. But so if you love her, you'll let her go. And everybody's saying it behind your back.
Even your friends.
Your friends.
He doesn't say it, Steve, but
everyone knows.
Steve's been the only...
Such a creepy
probably
turd.
the only friend that Peter's got, let alone, just friend in the storyline.
Smarmy, creepy turd. If I was Peter, I would be disgusted with this. So Carla comes back and Peter tells her about this, and she's like, "Oh, I never said I was going to go to Devon. I don't know what he means." Like, you liar! You just are. And Peter says he believes her, and they're like, "Oh, it's all turned out all right in the end, then, hasn't it?" No, what are you talking about?
It was for the Peter and Carla fans, wasn't it? I'm sure there were many people out there.
Carla fans, because this isn't good. This isn't good enough. This is boring. Aren't they bored with this? Even if you like these characters, aren't you bored with this? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hate them. I really don't.
I think they're quite well suited,
has put a lot of investment into these characters. They're talented actors. They've got so much backstory, so much rich history there. And instead of exploring it, we're going round in circles. Steve comes in. Oh, sorry about that. Peter says, "I forgive you, but I'm a bit annoyed about Lucas coming in saying that one of my mates said tell Carla to go to Devon."
Yeah, because what Steve was initially apologising for was not believing Peter that he hadn't drunk anything. So he gets forgiven for that, but not the betrayal of saying, yeah, Carla, you go off with him.
This is like everybody with Peter, like, okay, who's listening to this must have played or at least heard of Among Us, right? So Among Us is this game that you play. If you haven't heard of it before, it's a game you play where it's like Murderer, where you're secretly the murderer and you have to kill as many people as possible without everybody else finding out it's you. And if everybody gets together and votes you out, you lose. But if they think it's somebody else, you win. Basically,
it's a video game.
It's a game. It's a computer game. And this is like when you're playing this game and everyone's accusing you of being the imposter, and you're like, no, it's not me. It's clearly this other person who's obviously the person who did it, and nobody's listening to me because they're too good at lying.
Or you've been ejected.
Oh man. So frustrating. I really hated watching this. So Steve's like, yeah, sorry, it was me that did that. Back at number 1, Ken's having a go at Steve and Tracy's defending him, saying Peter's a bit mean. Peter's difficult. And how are you ever supposed to know if he's lying or not? And Ken says, if you don't like it, you can move out. It's Friday. Peter's going to be discharged and... sorry.
Well, there's only like 3 or 4 scenes of this story in Friday's episode,
had a micro nap. Tracy reminds Steve that he has to say sorry. I thought he already did say sorry. Peter comes back and they're bickering about what happened. And Amy says, oh no, don't row about it because Ken will throw us out. My granddad will make us homeless. Yeah, Steve tries to make amends by bringing Peter chocolates, saying, oh, I really couldn't just stand what you were putting everyone through and it's not really my fault. And then he... leaves and he looks like he wants to take the chocolates with him, but he doesn't.
That was
which is
quite
kind
funny.
of the best part of the whole story.
Peter didn't really want to forgive him, did he? He was still pretty grumpy at him. But yeah, that as much as I complained about a lot of this story, that final scene, and Steve was just the worst this week. But that final scene where he walks past the box of chocolates, he's like,
that was the best scene
of
the whole story. Yeah, I mean, my problems with this story were that the over egging of the pudding with everybody just shouting at Peter for being a drunk when he wasn't.
The thing is, we'd already decided by the end of last week, Peter's not drinking. People think maybe he is. I wonder what he's doing, because surely he's not drinking.
I really cannot believe that they were not told. Like, the medical team needs to have some kind of, what's the word, wrap across the knuckles here, because they would have surely have been told, if this happens to you, you need to come to the hospital because you're going to be overwhelmed with toxins. Yeah. Wouldn't they have said this? Anyway, let's pretend they did and they just didn't read the leaflet, because that's perfectly possible.
My two major criticisms of this story this week: number one, everything that Steve did apart from the chocolate scene, and number two, the whole pointless and unnecessary merry-go-round romance of Carla, Peter and Lucas. I did quite like Lucas when he first came in. I thought, maybe he could be good for Carla, but I think they are purposefully making him into a bit of a creepy stalker. The fact that he was just, turning up there weirdly at Peter's hospital bed.
It's none of your goddamn business, man. If she tells you that she doesn't want to go with you, don't go to her, dying boyfriend's hospital bed and try to convince him to dump her.
I think what I think is creepy when he was saying, he said, "I've decided I love Carla. I want to spend the rest of my life with her."
So what does Carla think? It seems irrelevant.
Well, no, I'm saying that he's jumped to that decision quite quickly. And I know he knew her back in Devon, but that was quite a while ago. So, and he's not really seen that much of her.
I know, he's
only been in
this is what I'm saying.
Handful
this
of
is why
episodes.
I said he was basically like a 90s rom-com protagonist, where we used to think it was sweet when a man would just steamroller over a woman's objections and say, no, we're meant for each other, and that was supposed to be romantic because the woman eventually would realise that he was right and she was wrong and they were really soulmates. And actually, no, that's just creepy and weird and gross.
It does make me wonder, are they going to ramp up this direction? Not that I want to see any more of this story, but I think we're going to get it whether we like it or not.
Do you think Lucas
is he going to start
sabotage Peter and try and kill him?
Maybe.
Honestly, I would certainly watch that.
Maybe.
Especially if one of them dies.
I still can't decide whether they're going to kill off Peter. I kind of think they should, in the same way that I kind of think they should have killed off Ollie, and they did, and I was glad that they stuck down there. But the amount we've had to invest into Peter being on his last legs this year, it feels like any way out of it. He gets his liver transplant or whatever, and then he's back to normal again. It's like, oh, okay.
I just need to point out that with any storyline, there are the plans that the show makes, and then there are external pressures that are brought to bear upon those stories. So we know this happened way back in the day with Samir giving his kidney to Tracy because of ecstasy, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why Kelly was taking such a passé drug, but whatever.
So 90s,
so uncool.
So 1996.
So originally the story was going to be that Samir was going to donate the kidney and then would die. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But they basically got asked very nicely, or perhaps firmly, by somebody to do with the donations, that this will have a negative impact on it might actually affect people taking, offering to donate.
So
and you could kill, literally, you could kill people with this storyline. And Coronation Street has to bear some responsibility for the stories that they portray. And, I wouldn't want to be responsible for serious topics like this. So do they, what's the most responsible way for this story to go? Is it a responsible thing to say, yes, Peter Barlow has been an alcoholic in this show since he came back in 2000, or was it even before then?
No, it definitely wasn't before then. The old Peter wasn't, and I don't remember when it started.
No, I
don't think he was an alcoholic.
Well, he's been in the show for 21 years now.
Might have been in the wake of the Peter and the Shelley and Lucy bigamy thing. That was 2003, 4. Yeah.
So about 17 years. Peter Barlow's been an alcoholic, and really an abusive alcoholic to his body. And the responsible thing is to say, yeah, kill him off, because this is... and I think that in a show that, like much media does, glorifies the consumption of alcohol, because that's just... I'm not having a go, but that's just what society's like. Is a responsible thing to show.
Coronation Street does like often to show there is always hope, but sometimes life doesn't work out neatly like
But
that.
the other sort of point of view is that if he does get a liver transplant and then he dies anyway, is that just too much for people who are going through that? You know what I'm trying to say? There must be a balance, because I know that what some of the criticism people had about the Ollie storyline was you're showing a boy dying of something, and it doesn't have, it's a progressive chronic disease that will kill you, but you're taking away hope from families who have children with this disorder that their kid could live longer than this.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that argument, because I think, unfortunately, what they showed with Ollie was a kind of realistic situation.
Would it just be too depressing so soon after Ollie, and also after Sinead?
It really is far too soon, I think, to kill another character. They've walled themselves in. I think they've messed up here, honestly, by plunging into this story so soon after another really heavy medical drama, and we still got Johnny in hospital with MS.
Prison.
Yeah, he's not in hospital, is he? It's probably the best place for him.
He's taking his pills now, though.
I'm finding it hard. It's depressing. I don't watch Casualty. I watched Casualty when I was at home with my parents, but I don't like medical dramas. I'm not watching Coronation Street for medical drama. But I acknowledge that this is a very everyday, commonplace thing for people to deal with.
I don't think I'd mind it half as much if we didn't have the added complication of Carla and Lucas. Really, I found bits of this story quite interesting, and the dosing with the whiskey and everything. But it's just no good. And Steve again. This is Steve who his son's just died, and then he kind of forgets about it, and then he's sad for a bit. He goes for a walk to get over it, and then he dresses up as a dinosaur to go jogging, and then he just has a jolly time at Ted's funeral.
Yeah.
And now he's suddenly flipped, and he just felt so out of character.
Unconvincingly written, and
it wasn't. I didn't feel that was Steve.
No.
It was a really, really, really bad idea. Really, really was.
This was tough. This was just tough.
Yeah, and it's not over, is it? It's not over. I'm glad that it wasn't particularly taking up much of Friday, because the week got better.
I will only enjoy this storyline if Lucas turns out to be some kind of serial killer who murders women's alcoholic boyfriends out of revenge for his wife's addiction and tries to kill Peter.
Right.
That's the only way I'm going to enjoy this storyline.
You never know. Could happen. Could happen. But
I really don't like moaning about.
I don't mind if they want to give it a little break before you bring it back, though, Corrie.
Honestly, always feel like I'm always moaning about this.
This story
Does anybody like this?
I'm sure there are people that like this. There definitely are. And this story has had highlights. I mean, just, when was it? 3-4 weeks ago when Peter was frothing at the mouth in the kitchen and Ken was there. That was a great scene. That episode that started with Peter having his seizure on the kitchen floor. That was really exciting. Now he's collapsing. There's no drama, and then he goes on the floor
why
again.
Are we having? It feels like this story is just the offcuts of everyone else's story, because it's like we've got an addiction problem here, and that we already have got another story going on about drugs with Simon, and that's interesting because it's something new and different.
Yeah. And
you've got the medical stuff, which feels like an offcut of Ollie's storyline. But that was different and interesting because it was a child who was going through it, and we were watching the impact of it on the family. This just feels like the most boring. Like, if you took all these elements of separate things and you made a story, this is the most boring way you could do it.
I don't know whether how much we're supposed to sympathise with Carla either, because this is the woman who 3, 4, 5 months ago was off bonking Adam, and now she's being tempted by Lucas.
I know, it really isn't good, is it? If you're trying to make me think that they're love's young dream, you're not doing a good job of it, because they're all. She's off banging whoever she can get her hands on, and crying about how difficult it is, and he's self-pitying and moaning, and doing jigsaws with a blanket around his shoulders. It's like, I didn't even care about them to begin with, but now I just really don't like either of them.
I'm really sorry to that. There must be some people that are listening to this podcast that are invested in the story. Please write in and tell us why. So I'm sorry that we're ragging on your favourite story at the moment, but come on, you must be able to see that.
Look, yeah, I mean,
it wasn't perfect.
No, it's just I'm
going to move on because I want to be really positive now. And I'm sure I know you found some positivity in this next story because we talked about it as we went. It had Devon, for heaven's sake. You can't complain.
You
cannot complain about a story with Devon.
In the last 12 months, Dev has been the hidden gem of Coronation Street.
Yep. I love him. He's fantastic.
More than any other character at the moment, he has been thrown drama and comedy, and he has done them perfectly in equal measure.
Compared to
such
Steve.
A big extent. Yeah. Two fathers undergoing incredible stress and flipping from a very sort of hammy comic character to a very dramatic and
serious
and sad, yeah. And I'm sorry, but Dev is, I don't know if it's the way they write for him or what it is, but it manages to pull this off far better than Steve.
There's a gulf in the performances, I think. Is it performances that writing? I don't know. But when Dev flips to serious, I totally believe him. When Dev is a buffoon, I find him hilarious. When Dev is over the top,
not everyone
ridiculous.
Will agree.
Not everyone will agree. Certainly,
I'm finding that he is actually. For so long, he was a joke. The character of Dev was a joke. And that's fine because that's Coronation Street, there are characters like that. But since I think it's since they've started giving Asha better stories.
Yeah, it's been in the last 2 years, really.
He has blossomed so much. I'm so pleased with him. And Jimmy Harkison's doing a fantastic job. And I really don't think he's getting the credit for it.
Right, well,
let's explain why.
Well, the Monday isn't to do with that story because, like I said, in merge, it's more the size supply stories on Monday. So, Leanne comes into the lounge on Monday and finds Simon diligently doing his coursework. Great gun, she says.
He must be on drugs.
Everything's fine. Back to normal, back to college, sorted. But then old Jacob comes over and says, Simon, you need to ditch this college plan and go with me. So they go off somewhere to do some nefarious business. We'll later see Simon watching Jacob. He's on the phone giving a bit of a telling off to somebody who has forgotten who his mates are. So Simon kind of sees that maybe Jacob can be a bit threatening. Poisoning. Yes, maybe.
Like Steve had.
And Jacob's like, you wouldn't ever forget who your mates were, would you, Simon? And Simon's terrified of this guy at the moment. It's like starting off as someone who was a mate, and then it was like there was a bit of respect in there and kind of an admiration, and I want to be like you, Jacob. And now he's just kind of realising that I'm scared of you, and I need to do everything you tell me, basically, because otherwise I could get in trouble. Jacob says he's pleased that Simon has got his back because he has got a job for him, and he takes. They go back home to the flat later, and we find out that Jacob's flat has got raided. Leanne doesn't want him there though, and Simon says, "Oh, please let him stay." And she's like, "You've got no idea what Jacob is capable of. You really, really need to let him stay if that's what he wants, Mum." And Leanne kind of has to relent there. So you can see like the fear in Simon's eyes. Go on.
Go on. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, and I really do think that Alex Bain has improved. Because I was criticising him around the Christmas time, but I think in this story he's definitely upped his game.
And we looked this up, didn't we? This is a thing.
Oh yes, this is a thing.
Thanks to our Facebook group, who are always on it. They
it's cuckooing.
Let us know that cuckooing is a thing.
I found this. I went onto the Crime Stoppers website. I'll tell you now.
Have you got a sore throat today?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm just back to normal teaching, probably. According to Crime Stoppers UK, victims of cuckooing are often drug users, but can include older people. Right. So cuckooing is when drug dealers move into the house of vulnerable people and kind of use it as a set-up base, basically. Yes. It's like, I'm moving in here, nothing you can do, or else.
So can we just check how Leanne fits against this criteria of people who are victims of cuckooing?
Yeah, these, according to Crime Stoppers UK, these are the sorts of people that get cuckooed.
Yeah.
Older people,
well,
she's past 40, will be one soon. Those suffering from mental or physical health problems.
Yes.
Mental for sure. Single mums.
Yes.
those living in poverty.
Yes.
All these kind of peoples.
And it doesn't say whether it's self-imposed poverty because you won't take help for your bills and you keep phoning up psychics.
And finally, female sex workers.
Check.
Full house. Bingo, Leanne. Exactly. So yeah, he's moved in there and Simon's like, please, 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 just let him stay. And he says, I'm really sorry, Mum. I've brought this on us all. I'm just trying to help out. And
I was just trying to help out, and now I've brought a drug dealer to live with us.
And all of his druggy mates, because they all turn up and start to do all their druggy business on the sofa, don't they? And Leanne's like, I'm going out. I'm not staying. I can't stay over this. And Jacob says, thanks, Leanne. You're a top bird. Brilliant.
See, this is my worst nightmare because I am a very protective person about my personal space. I really don't like people in the house if I'm not prepared. It take a while I need to psych myself up. I don't like visitors.
You don't, do you? You really don't like people
visitors,
around.
I'm really not a fan of. Even if you're my favourite person in the world, you need to make an appointment before you can come round. So if this happened to me, I think I would have a nervous breakdown. I couldn't cope. I couldn't.
So this story kind of goes on the sidelines for a bit for Wednesday, and we'll move back into the Nina Asha part of it. And Corrie, he makes an appearance on Wednesday, doesn't he?
Nice to
Got a
see
bit
you.
of bum fluff, hasn't he, on Wednesday? I was like, is that Corrie? Oh yeah, he's just growing a little beard. He finds out from Asha that she has got a new person in her life, and it's a girl. It's Nina, and he's like, "What?" It's jaw. You can see his jaw drop.
He's obviously taken this as an sort of personal insult.
Well, yeah, he says that he doesn't care that she's into girls, but he's like, but that one kind of. So it's more of an insult, saying that you would choose that freak over me. Basically, is what he was saying in his words. Obviously, I was a bit surprised. The fact that he didn't particularly seem to bat an eyelid about the fact that she's now, going out with a girl. That wasn't his problem, which was interesting.
I thought that was strange because you would have thought that it would have been a very easy thing to make fun of her for.
Yeah.
But maybe the kids these days aren't
no
homophobic like they were when we were children.
Exactly. Anyway, he just thinks the whole thing's hilarious and he walks out and saying, well, you know what? You're welcome to each other. So this leads us to Friday, where Jacob is still there at Simon's house. And I was in the kitchen making a cup of tea or something at the beginning. And you said he was tinkering around with drugs, didn't you?
He was just ripping the guy off.
Yeah, Harvey is boss. He was kind of putting the drugs in bags or something and taking a bit for him or something. But he's basically, he's doing a little deal where he's selling excess drugs on the side and then giving less drugs, keeping the money and giving less drugs to the people who are buying them from Harvey. But anyway, he's just trying to rip him off. He's got a bit too big for his boots. Meanwhile, Asha is there in the cafe mooning just at the thought of Nina and this delicious pizza they're going to have together tonight. Roy's trying to tell her about some fracas at the train enthusiast club or was it
somebody's photoshopping things?
Somebody's photoshopping something. He's also talking about chili con carne and chili sin carne, which I'd never heard of before.
Don't tell me you've not.
I've never heard of chili sin carne.
Do you know what the difference is?
Well, I'm guessing that carne is meat.
Yes.
And sin means without.
Yes.
And con means with.
Yes.
Never had a Spanish lesson in my life, everybody. And they're also talking about chili with chips and rice, weren't they? Where do you stand on this?
I thought
think we need to know.
This was really funny because I genuinely thought this was a weird thing that Roy would get mad about, because you'd thought Roy would be quite egalitarian about people's food choices. But he was really adamantly against people ordering chili with chips on the side.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm making chili at home, I'm doing rice with it. But if I'm out and about, I might be having some chips. If you're offering me. If I've got a choice, I always pick chips.
Yeah. That reminds me of you were disgusted when you heard that my family growing up had rice with bolognese.
Oh, it's horrible. It makes me cringe.
Takes all sorts, doesn't it, to make the world go round. Anyway, as I said, Asha's there, gooey-eyed at the thought of Nina, and then Nina comes in, and Asha kind of half invites Nina to come round for pizza. Half is like, you're coming round to my house for pizza tonight, aren't you, Nina? And Nina's like, oh no, I've got to work here for Roy. She's clearly not that into it, the idea. And Asha's like, no, pizza at my house.
And yeah, she keeps saying, "Oh, I'm not. I don't finish work until." She's like, "Come around, it's 6:30." She's like, "I don't finish work till 7:00." Oh, okay, 7:30. She wasn't taking any hints.
She was not taking any hints. She's blinded. She's still infatuated. Still in the throes of this new love and her first proper relationship, I suppose, in this exciting new avenue that she's going down. So we also then have a scene back to the Simon, the druggy stuff of R. Kelly and Jacob in Victoria Gardens. Remember, they know each other, and we found out in the interview with James Ryan that Millie Gibson and Jack were sort of knew each other before Coronation Street, which was quite cool. So they were in Victoria Gardens. She's minging on that this new kid has come into a foster home, so she's not happy there. And he's like, I've got the perfect thing to put a spring in your step. It's some ecstasy. They're brilliant.
Easy good.
That's what. Yeah, you might as well start singing that. But just before she can kind of do anything about that, this flash car turns up. No, it's not Sean and his new BMW. It's Harvey.
Oh no!
The boss is here at last. We don't get to see him in that scene.
He's got tinted windows.
You can see the colour drain from Jacob's face as his boss comes up, and then the last that we see of him is him sitting there in the passenger seat of this car. Yeah, and being driven to his doom, and it was just like Henry, wasn't it? Well, apart from Henry was dragged kicking and screaming into the posh thug's car, but that was the end, sadly for Jacob. But I guess we didn't know about it at the time. And I wonder, do you think the tinted windows are just there because I wonder what the social distancing measures were.
Actually, good point. He probably just got in there by himself, didn't he?
Maybe.
Wow, acting.
Anyway, he's off, and Kelly's left alone in the park, and I think this is when Summer, and I wonder how many viewers at home, how long the average it took for people to go, oh yes, that's Summer, isn't it? And not who's that random girl. But yeah, Summer and Asha, or was it Amy? I can't remember. Anyway, they turn up.
It really didn't help.
Oh, it was
matters
Asha.
that Summer wasn't wearing a school uniform and the other two girls were. Because later on, they all go to the flat together, don't they?
Oh yeah, she's dressed up like a rainbow.
And she's wearing dungarees again. And a stripy rainbow jumper, and the other two I thought were wearing school uniform, but I can't remember.
No, I don't think they were. I don't think Kelly was wearing some leopard skin kind of outfit. I think.
But it just feels like Summer is being dressed by somebody who's learned about teenage girls from watching the programme Rainbow.
Oh yeah, what the kids show.
She just looks like an extra from a children's TV programme.
I just Jane, Freddie and
keep
Summer.
Expecting her to go, okay everyone, today we're going to make Tracy Island out of toilet rolls. You know what I mean? She's just got this really manic youth energy that seems to be not actually from being youthful but pretending to be. Yeah. And I know it's really unfair because I don't think I'm getting that vibe from her. I'm getting it from the wardrobe and the fact that she is not as young as she's supposed to be.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, what comes out of that conversation is that.
But I will just say, the longer she's in the programme, the less this will make.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The less problem this will be.
Yeah.
So
what comes out of that conversation is Asha finds out that there's a hotel in town that's doing a cheap deal. So she's like, time to take things to the next level with Nina. Dad, can I have... How much did she ask for
50 quid.
first? 50, oh, yeah, it's 50 quid, isn't it? He tries to offer 20 first.
If I was Dev and my daughter came to me and went, oh, Dad, can I have 50 quid for a special deal in the hotel? I'd say... No, I'm going by myself. Get away from you kids. 50 quid for a night by myself with a mini bar and a TV. I can pick whatever I want to watch. See you later.
Well, no wonder he ended up giving her the 50 quid in the end, because I've been to the worst hotel in Manchester, probably the cheapest hotel in Manchester, and he wouldn't want them to end up there, down that dodgy alley off Piccadilly Gardens. So anyway, he's like, no, you're not having money. He's like, imagine if it was a boy. I wouldn't be giving you money to go to a hotel with a boy. It's just the same thing. And she's like, fine, then I'll ask Daddy. But he's going to charge me interest.
This kind of to me raised some interesting questions about what exactly Dev's real problem with Asha sleeping with her boyfriend or girlfriend is. He was kind of insinuating that his major problem was just pregnancy.
What, when it was with Corrie?
No, that's wrong. Asha was saying, you're the main problem. I can't get pregnant, so I don't know why you're worried, basically. But he seemed to sort of just in general, I don't want you to take that step.
Well, we've seen that he's...
with anybody.
In the last 6 months, he's been very much, notably, Asha is kind of growing up too fast in his eyes.
Yeah.
And I think he's thought, this is delaying her growing up, maybe. I don't know, her going out with Nina, because he seemed like over the moon happy.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Like, it really is just the threat is from her being with a boy. But now he's saying, no, it's just anybody. I don't want you to.
Yeah.
I thought that you wouldn't take this so fast because and this is new territory.
He doesn't like the idea that his daughter has grown up. So anyway,
do you think that's it?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah,
I don't know.
and before he'd thought maybe this is delaying it a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd be this worried about, because she says, "Oh yeah, you wouldn't."
He said, "What if it was a boy?"
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't be giving you the money then either.
But I also think that he wouldn't be this worried about Ardy.
No, that's very, very true. I think he probably would have double standards there. I mean, he knows what he was like himself as a young boy.
It's weird, isn't it? You have different rules, and it makes sense. Like, if your main problem is, pregnancy, which would make sense if you're trying to look after the welfare of a teenage girl. Pregnancy is not just a really bad, idea for a teenage girl from a social and educational perspective, but also your body goes through an incredible amount of stress, and people really don't give it enough credit for how hard it is on your body to be pregnant. So it would make sense from that perspective, but it's not about that, is it?
It's loss of innocence is what it is.
But yeah, okay, I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore.
No, that's fine. Anyway, he then marches over to the cafe because he thinks that Nina's the one that's put Asha up to this, like, because Corrie was the one that was leading her on before, and Asha was very, I'll
do you think also
drop my drawers on, I'm ready for you, thank you, Corrie.
Do you think it's also like a bit of actually being confronted with what it really means for Asha to be in a gay relationship with a girl? He was like, it's all French movies and batting eyelashes and crying and, eating pizza in our pyjamas and talking about our feelings. And then she's suddenly saying, I want to go to a hotel with my girlfriend. And he's like, oh, there's a physical dimension step, isn't it, to this that I'm not comfortable with at all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So he goes over to Nina, and because she's the older one, he kind of says, "What's going on here? You going up to the hotel?"
So bad for her.
And Nina's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
She's pushing it onto me.
Yeah. Nina's felt over her head for a couple of weeks now, and she's like, "No, sorry." So Dev's kind of sent away with a bit of a flea in his ear. He kind of sheepishly leaves. And then when Asha comes around later, Nina puts her foot down about the hotel. And she's like, no, sorry, I'm not going to a hotel with you.
I did like how firm she was here.
Yeah, I did as well.
She said, I said no. I said no.
You need to tell him. And
if this was a boy that was pushing her in to go to a hotel, her saying I said no would be really quite assertive and very laudable. I don't know if people had a different impression of her because she was saying it to another girl, like, oh, you should be nicer about it,
No, I think people were cheering Nina on at this point because that Asha. But I mean, it's fair enough that Asha is. I mean, this is new territory for Nina as well. It's not like she's, seasoned romantic with a string of boyfriends / girlfriends.
I don't think we've learned anything new about Nina's sexuality from this.
No.
I've got no idea whether Nina has had a girlfriend before or if she thinks of... I know she says no labels, but I don't know whether she has had relationships with girls or boys or no one at all.
I can't remember whether they brought it up.
I'm not really sure. I think this is really this is a really interesting way of going about having a relationship between two girls on Coronation Street, because it really is an interesting because they're both experiencing. I think that this is the first time Nina has been in a relationship with a girl. So to me, they're both experiencing it for the first time together.
I kind of see Asha as someone who's grown up watching, romantic movies and reading romantic books, and she's got a very she was into the Bollywood look, and I have not seen Bollywood movies, but I'm going to assume that they're very
heteronormative and traditional.
Yeah, and find the right person, get
everyone
married
does
to them,
dance.
do a big dance
I
routine.
don't know. But I'd imagine that Nina spent most of her days watching those or avoiding them and saying they were lame and stupid.
Yeah, so Asha thinks that naturally her relationship's going to quickly
She's got a very
progress, and
idyllic
Nina's
view.
like, I just wanted to be friends, and this is
Somewhat.
what she's kind of talking with Roy about later, and Roy says, you need to be honest, and Nina says, what, you mean dump her? And Roy's like, well, if that's what your immediate reaction is when I say honest, then maybe you should. And I can't remember whether it was this point or later that he brings up the Kathy thing and says, I only had one serious relationship ever, and that was with Hayley, but then when I went out with Kathy afterwards, I kind of wished that
This was such a betrayal of Kathy and Roy's relationship, because I love them together.
I think I quite, we did, didn't we?
I really, really thought that when Hayley died, we both said, Roy will never find love again. And then when they put him with Kathy, we both said, oh gosh, they found somebody that would actually work. And now he's saying, no, it was never going to happen. I feel so betrayed.
Now look who she's ended up with. So Nina goes round to Asha and Dev's house and gently breaks up with her. She says that we're too different. We were fab as friends. I think let's just cool our jets.
Asha does not take this very well. She pretends that she does.
She pretends she does, because at one point Nina says, "Oh, we were best as mates," and Anna's like, and Asha's like, "Oh yeah, I was going to say the same thing."
Yeah, I was going to say that's why we should spend more time together in a hotel, talking about how great friends we are. Like, all right.
She's just, you can see that she's, but you can see that she's really, really hurt.
Of course, she's trying to save face.
Yeah, and just to make things worse in the middle of the conversation, that's when Dev comes in, kind of leaves the £50 on the table.
Yeah, there you go, girls. Enjoy your night. Oh,
I'm still cool.
I'm still cool, Dad. Here's £10 for the minibar.
Cut back to the Leanne and Simon part of the story, and she's just found some drugs under some sofa. It's those 2 ecstasy pills, isn't it? Yeah.
What's she moaning about?
She recognises this, I'm sure, from back in the Jez Quigley days. But Simon comes in, gets them off of her, and she's totally stressed out. She doesn't know how there's going to be a way out of this, and he's just like, "Oh, I need to go out. I've got to because doesn't he get a call from Jacob at some point, or who he thinks is Jacob? He needs to go out and see him. Asha, meanwhile, is speaking with Kelly and Summer at the bus stop, because they spoke earlier about whether they wanted to meet up later tonight, and Asha's like, sorry, I can't, I got a date with Nina,
you guys can't come.
And now she's crawling back and saying, oh yeah, she admits that they've broken up, but she makes it out to be a lot more amicable than it actually was. She's acting like she doesn't care when she really is hurting inside, I think. And she says, let's get wasted.
Yeah.
Which is that came out of nowhere. It's very handy that there's some drugs just round the corner, because I wouldn't have thought that this would be Asha's immate reaction to this. I don't know whether we've ever seen her.
She's always been a bit naughty, hasn't she?
I don't think she's been that naughty.
But I thought, well, wasted means different things, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
she could have just meant drunk. But if there are drugs, let's do those.
Yeah, So, they do ask, where's Jacob? But Kelly goes round and finds Simon round the corner and tries to get him to sell her some pills, and he's like, I can't sell any, I just deliver them. But he's got these two. This is like
what happened to the Amazon delivery guy that I waylaid the other day. He was trying to make a delivery to another house, and I was like, come on man, just sell me the drugs. He's going, I'm not delivering drugs, this is hay and hamster food, and it's not for you.
So Simon eventually is cajoled into selling these drugs to Kelly, because she says, if you don't, then what does she threaten?
I'll tell everyone you're a drug dealer.
Yeah, that's quite a big thing to hold over him. And he's got these 2 pills floating about that Harvey doesn't know about. So
at this point, if random people are coming up to you and saying, oh, give me some drugs, the secret's out, Simon.
£50. Did he get for the whole £50?
No, she gave him 40 quid.
Oh, yeah.
She's canny. She got to give him 50 quid. She's keeping the 10 for herself.
So, anyway, she also mentions to Simon about Jacob being driven away in a tinted car earlier, and I think he knows what that means. So, girls meet up in the flat together. First problem, they've only got 2 pills. There's 3 of them. How are they going to share them? Summer's like, sorry guys, I don't do drugs. I'm not going to have any. You share them to yourself.
I've already done drugs.
Oh yeah,
I already had a story.
She had a spice, didn't she? Yeah, she knows the what
I'm
that
straight
can do
edge
to
now.
you.
Well, no, she's not. She wants to
Asha
drink.
says, "Well, we'll get you some booze then. Let's go to Dev's shop. We'll get you some booze together."
And someone's like, "Oh, don't steal anything, will you?" She's all hoity-toity.
I can't imagine that Summer would want booze either. To be fair, at least old.
You know what Billy would tell her?
What?
If we don't sin, Jesus died for nothing.
Oh, yeah, good point. So they go off to the shop and they're saying, now, Kelly, don't take the drugs while we're gone. We need to have them together.
There's only one thing you need to remember, and that's not to take drugs.
Yeah, and Kelly's got them in a little bag going, oh, but they look so tempting. So they come back later and...
Kelly's taking the drugs.
Yeah, she's taking the drugs. She's unconscious. She's still breathing,
She's
thank
put herself
goodness.
in the recovery position.
Yeah, very handy.
One.
Yeah. So they have to phone up 999. They're obviously a little bit of an awkward situation. Like, where did they get the drugs from? They're going to get in trouble. But
I really don't think
probably...
that you need to worry about it. If you're ever in a situation, young children who are listening to us who are very impressionable, number one, no drugs for you. Number two, tell your medical provider everything. They're not the police. They don't care. They need to know.
Yes.
They don't judge you.
Over.
They've seen so many people doing exactly the same thing as you.
So, meanwhile...
The only thing you really need to worry about is if you put something inappropriate up your backside. Then you probably need to tell some fibs.
Simon, meanwhile, has got this message from Jacob, meet me in Victoria Gardens, and he's not there, phones him up on Jacob's phone, and this new voice answers.
Hello?
It's Harvey.
Hello,
the
it's
big
me,
boss.
Harvey.
What's he doing with Jacob's phone, I wonder?
I took his phone.
We don't need to wonder
I don't know what
long.
accent this is.
I don't know.
I took his phone.
Yeah, he was
It's me, Harvey.
He was only in a couple of scenes.
Hello.
You have to watch a few more to just
No,
really get there.
I've nailed it.
Harvey walks around the corner and is like, yeah, I found out everything that Jacob
I know
was
everything.
doing. He was trying to rip me off. He was
You're not
scamming
gonna do
me
that,
proper.
are you?
And I took him for a little drive and dropped him off at the hospital. So he's done some, who knows what. We can only imagine what's happened to
I
Jacob.
thought he was just doing a shift there at the Weatherfield
No.
Friends of
Weatherfield Hospital for
that's
Emily.
right, yeah.
No. And then he's saying to Simon, like, you been selling pills on the side as well? Well, have you? And he's pretty intimidated by this, but he promises he's just been doing as he's told. But obviously he has been selling these pills on the side to Kelly because she could jolt him into it.
Kelly's so evil.
She is. Simon wants out of this. Harvey's like, I'm going to give you a promotion because obviously Jacob's out of action now. And Simon's like, in fact,
No.
I don't want to do this anymore. Harvey's like, no, you're doing it.
Always
Also,
refuse promotion that doesn't come with a pay increase.
Well, not only does this not come with a pay increase, but Simon now owes Harvey £2,000 for all these
This
missing
is
drugs.
like, tell you what, this is like an MLM.
And he says, it is.
This is like Boozy Baps. What's it called? Glitzy Glam. Glammy Whammy.
Double glammy.
Whammy Glammy.
Glammy. Roy, Harvey says, if you don't pay me this money, you're going to end up in a hospital bed next to Jacob.
Okay,
Bye.
fine. Yeah, fine. This is the point where you say, go on then.
Do your work.
NHS is free. If that's what it takes, if I get my things ticked off the list, go find another idiot.
It wouldn't be the end, though.
And
would
listen, Harvey, if you know what's good for you, don't involve anybody that lives in Weatherfield in your drug dealing ways, because you're just going to become a cropper at the end of it. So that's what happens. They're a bunch of do-gooding weirdos with their little Weatherfield Good Samaritan charity thing.
Back to Nina. She's telling Roy about dumping Asha, and she says she's a lovely girl, but she likes Little Mix, and I don't think I can deal with that in the partner. And Roy's like, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I didn't even know that Little Mix was still a thing.
Still a thing. They're still a thing. They've been going for a while now, haven't they?
I know they've been going for a while.
But yeah, they're still going.
I didn't know this.
And this is when he talks about Kathy. Simon comes home, tells Leanne everything that's happened. Leanne says, right, this has gone far enough. You need to stop this now, Simon. He says he can't. He's in too deep. In fact, he's got to step up, pay this guy back, or he's going to end up in hospital.
This is the point where I just gave up here.
No, I loved it. In the hospital later, Kelly's on the mend. She's going to be all right. She's having her stomach pumped or something. Summer has called Billy in, which Asha is a bit, why do you do that for, you snitch? So Billy
comes and he's like, why did you guys take ecstasy without me?
He says we need to tell Dev. So we later see Dev asking Chesney to cover at the chip shop because Jacob's not turned up for his shift. He has to go to the hospital.
This was a bit like when somebody needs to find a babysitter and you're like, I don't care. I don't care about this.
Yeah. Well, it was important later because
I know
we had Chesney going
they
over
actually
to Simon's.
they actually used it as a reason for why Chesney went to Simon's house to tell him what happened to Kelly. But it was just a bit like, oh no, who's going to babysit the kebab shop?
Leanne is saying at this point, we need to go to the police, Simon. This has gone too far. It's my fault. I let it go on. But sorry, we need to do this. And Simon says, we can't. I've been delivering drugs. I'm gonna get taken.
Have you not been reading the plot synopsis, woman?
Yeah. She says, don't worry about that, Simon. You were groomed. It's not your fault. and to be fair, he kind of was. I don't know
looked
how...
up this county lines thing.
Do you think the police would be in any way lenient on Simon?
It depends on where the cut-off point is.
What, age-wise? Or?
Yeah, because he's 17, and I don't know what that means regarding...
Well, he's still a minor, isn't he, I guess?
I don't know.
And I suppose if Harvey is this big drugs villain lord of Weatherfield,
he's got information
and he's known for doing this kind of thing...
If he's got information that they can use to get a conviction for somebody who's a much bigger fish than Simon, he'll be all right.
Leanne says... she said at one point, if Harvey knows that we've talked to the police, then he'll leave you alone.
That was the stupidest logic I've ever heard in my life. Are you listening to yourself?
Works, Leanne.
She'll go, oh, I don't want that. That's a bad thing.
Dev, meanwhile, has arrived at the hospital, hoiks Asha out and wants to talk to her back at home. And then Chesney, this is when he comes over to ask Simon to cover at the chip shop later. He says he can't. Also, Chesney says, well, Kelly's... No, who was it? Yeah, was it Chesney then says, oh, Kelly's taken drugs, and and then Simon is like, bloody hell, those are probably the drugs that I gave her. Have I killed R. Kelly? So
hopefully,
after Chesney leaves, Simon says to Leanne where she got those drugs
from.
Well,
he also just...
And he's like, sorry, I've changed my mind. I really, really, really... really definitely can't go to the police with you now. He's absolutely terrified, bless him.
Well, this annoys me because I would personally, if I was him... put this on completely on Kelly, because it seems to me I haven't done drugs. We released our drugs chat episode
on YouTube just the other day
this week, and so we talk a bit more about it. Still haven't done any drugs since then.
Lockdown.
But I'm going to presume that a pill is like a serving, and if you take 2. You're greedy and you deserve to go to hospital. So really, it's not his fault. He's completely...
She was totally greedy.
She took 2!
Yeah. All because somebody else has moved into her foster home.
Also because they went, don't take any, we're going to go and get booze. And she's like, oh, I could share. We could, 2 pills between 3. Nah. 2 pills between 2. Okay. 2 pills between 1. Sounds fantastic.
You're right, it's totally her fault.
Yeah.
No, she did...
It's not paracetamol.
Kind of blackmail Simon into getting the pills.
They sell you 2, they sell you packs, and you're supposed to take 2.
But yes, I can see why Simon would be utterly terrified.
But this is why Leanne. This is where Leanne needs to say, it's already got out of hand. This week it's Kelly. Next week, who else is it going to be? It's not going to get better from here on out.
Well, she's got her own plan, hasn't she? which we hear about later. Meanwhile, Dev has taken Asha to Roy's and says, look, Nina, do you know anything about what's been going on with these drugs? Are you involved in this? Asha leaves, and Nina, this is when she reveals to Dev that they've split up and says, look, you really need to give Asha a bit of love right now. She's feeling a bit delicate. So he does. They go back home. Dev's understanding. Asha says, look, I wasn't going to take any drugs, honestly, I swear. Was she? I don't know.
She's a liar.
I think that maybe she got in over her head a little bit. I think she was kind of saying she would, but she just pulled out at the last moment.
No, she would have
Kelly's
taken
got a shaved eyebrow. She's tough. Asha, she wears glasses. No way is she taking those gloves. Gloves? Drugs? Where do gloves come from?
You're a terrible stereotyper, and I don't stand behind anything that either of us said the whole time.
And Asha's like, and I never will take them after today. So she's learned a lesson.
Liar.
So some good has come out of this. He's like, look, everything that's happened with Nina, I understand. You can talk to me if you want to. And she's like, I don't think there's some things that there's still I can't talk to you about, Dad. Sorry. So we find out Leanne's plan later at the end of the episode. She is going to go and meet Harvey tomorrow and pay him off in the only way that she knows that she can. So I hope, Harvey's going to get lucky next week, I think.
I don't think that it's worth £2,000.
So what a predicament.
Is it?
Yeah, I was really excited by this, and because of this interview with Jack that I had coming up, I had read quite a lot of the synopsis for tonight's episode, and as I was watching it, I was like, oh, I don't want to read this. This sounds quite exciting, and I was kind of spoiled it for myself. But as I was watching it, I was like, no, this is quite good.
Okay,
I've enjoyed having the two stories mix up. All the teens together is quite interesting. I don't, loathe Kelly quite as much as you did, and actually, I thought that she was all right in the scene where she was getting the drugs. I really am.
I'm kind of scared about how much I hate Kelly.
Why do you?
I don't know. I was thinking this myself earlier. I've been thinking about it on and off all day.
It's irrational.
It is. It's horrible. It's a really unfair thing for me to be so
I mean, it's not a bad actress. She's not a performer.
No, I'm not complaining about her performance.
To me, the problem is she's of this ancillary teen character that's a hanger-on to this long, drawn-out Rick Neelan, Gary Windass story.
You certainly cannot say that anything I've said about disliking her character is a result of her, the actress, giving a poor performance. If anything, it's the opposite way around. Because she is very convincing, like, teenage... But it's because, I think it's like I said before, when I was at school, these were the girls that would also always bully people and pick on people like me. She's one of these, like, glossy glam, make-uppy girls who care about boys and drugs and drinking and, you know all the drug dealer people, and they would just pick on everybody else.
I've obviously not had that experience, but for me, I think it is the fact that she's just this lingering reminder that the Rick Neelan story is still dragging on, all these years later.
Yeah. At the end of the day, my dislike of Kelly is like a me thing, not a her thing. You know.
Still possibility to change her mind. Maybe they'll.
I never change my mind.
Maybe they'll redeem her or something. But yeah, I think
that's not true. I do change my mind.
What do you reckon's going to happen when Leanne goes over to see Harvey then?
Oh, he'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry. You're completely right. I feel like an absolute cad. My apologies. I will refund you and leave Simon alone immediately. In fact, don't worry about giving me any money. It will be fine."
You reckon? I think that she's very, very naive to think that if she's
so stupid.
Tries to pay off this drugs lord,
he'll go,
he's going to wipe the slate
the
clean and say, "I will move on now.
I won't assume you've got any more than this."
Yeah. The fact that at the beginning of today's episode, Simon didn't actually owe Harvey anything. And,
well, he did owe him money. This is what Jacob said.
Well, not much. But
Michael, he never told him how much he owed him. So that just means that the tab is always going up, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a nebulous amount of money. It's like...
There's nothing stopping Harvey just saying, actually, you owe me more, you owe me more.
Yeah, exactly. Because he owes him money for this bike. He owes him money for the phone. He owes him money for the drugs that Jacob was stealing. Whatever. It's all nonsense and lies. It's not about the real amount, is it? It's about having power over somebody else and making them do what you tell them to do.
Yeah. Do you think that she should just go to the police? I mean,
yes, of course she should. That's ages ago.
Usually in Coronation Street, when people should go to the police, generally they don't, do they?
No.
But I mean, if I had, PC Tinker as my representative at the local constabulary, I think they probably won't be able to do anything useful, actually. Although, where is Craig during all of this?
Nowhere.
A couple of weeks ago, you couldn't get rid of him. He was, whenever there was a snifter of a minor fracas on the street, Craig was there to sort things out. And now there's drug dealing going on at Victoria Gardens, and he's don't see the hide nor hair of him.
Yeah.
Anything there?
Well, just, at every point they've got along the line, they've said, we can't go to the police now because this has happened. And every single time something different happens, it's just another reason not to go to the police. But if they'd gone in the first place, the escalations wouldn't have happened, did they? This is why it's so bleh.
It was. I still think it's great. And I really did I like Harvey. I think that he's made a really good first impression.
Tell me who Harvey is.
What do you mean?
Harvey's a new character.
Well, yeah. What do you need telling? So I thought that I thought he came across as a very convincing tough guy. He wasn't, he was no Mick the gangster, was he? I mean, when Leanne said, "I'm going to go and sort Harvey out," I kind of said to you, "I'll just send Eileen round. She'll sort him out, just like she did Mick." But yeah, to be fair, Mick was a bit of a softie compared to Harvey. I think he's got the potential to be a pretty effective villain. What did you think?
My main point of bringing it up that who is Harvey was I thought you were going to say Harvey is played by Will Mellor.
Oh yeah,
and
I was
Will
Mellor say that.
In the UK is probably most famous for being a comic character in 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, which you never watched.
I never
but it
watched
was
that.
I think like an early 2000s comedy series. It's pretty funny. Ran for quite a long time. It's also got Sheridan Smith in it, who people might recognise.
I think he does a podcast as well, doesn't he? He's doing a bit of promo on Twitter
does
for that.
Podcast these days. He was also in Broadchurch.
Line of Duty as well. We must have seen him on that.
He wasn't in Line of Duty. I don't know. I can't find that. No.
Who am I thinking of that was in Line of Duty?
He was in Hollyoaks for 73 episodes, and he was also in Casualty for 2 years as Jack Vincent.
Well, I've not...
and he was in EastEnders for 3 episodes.
I don't remember him from anything. If I've seen him in anything, I've forgotten him.
He was in Line of Duty for 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think he was a major character.
No, so I've not seen him. I've got no preconceptions about what he is and isn't like. But
he's a fairly sort of recognisable actor, isn't he? He's this makes me think this will be a meaty-ish role. I don't know.
It feels like it is. But
when he was in EastEnders for like 2 episodes.
When he was threatening Simon, I definitely felt that.
Oh, I'm scared.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of what he's like. And I suppose this might be a good time for me to talk about the Corrie press day at last that I did. When was it? Like 4 or 5 weeks ago? I can't even remember now. So,
well, then why, when I said tell me about this character, you're like, what do you mean? And then you're saying, oh yeah, I went to a press day.
Well, I didn't know that's what you were angling at.
Oh wow, what else could it have been?
Well, okay, so...
Look, my bad mood extends to everybody, including you, not just Coronation Street, so you're not getting out of there.
So, we went to the Corrie press day. Well, I didn't go anywhere.
You did, I didn't.
I got myself an invite to a Corrie press day about a month ago, and among the guests there were Will Mellor and also Vince Morgan, who plays Uncle Ronnie, Uncle Ronnie Bailey, which we'll maybe talk a bit more about later. But I haven't said much about the press day so far because so much was under embargo, but most of it...
Is it up, are you sure?
Yeah, this bit of it definitely is. Yeah, this definitely is. I just wanted to talk about the experience, really. So I heard that the press day was going on, and I emailed Alison Sinclair, the head press lady at Coronation Street, and said, "Can I come too, please?" So
she's a boss babe.
She sent me a link and I had to download Zoom because I didn't have Zoom on my computer, despite everything's been going on over the last year.
Living through a pandemic for a year.
And it was just really cool. So I went in there, and there were about, I don't know, 16, 20 of us, sort of journalists, and there was Ryan from the Coronation Street blog as well there that I recognised, and we had a little panel. There was Ali Sinclair, and there was Janice Troop and Francesca from the Corrie press team, and at various points the different people showed up on screen and they did their interviews, and it wasn't necessarily a thing as press members. I guess I include myself in this. We did kind of have the opportunity to ask some questions just via the chat on Zoom, but it was pretty much Ali Sinclair interviewing these guests, or there was one where Frankie did some interviewing. I can't remember who interviewed who, and we just kind of sat back and watched and listened and took notes and everything. But yeah, Will Mellor came across as a really nice guy, and it was his second week filming. When he did it, he was just there on his phone. He was in the studios. It was his first day in the studios when he was doing this press day, and he said, "It's the first time I've been inside. I've only done my scenes in Victoria Gardens up to this point." And he talked about getting a part on Coronation Street. He used to joke that he was the only Northern actor who's never been asked to be on Coronation Street. So he felt that this was at long last I've got a chance to. It's like living the Mancunian dream, isn't it? I'm sure so many Manchester actors grow up wanting to have a part in Coronation Street. And he said his mum has wanted him to have a role in Coronation Street for 32 years, so finally he's been able to make her proud. And he just came across as being very, very thankful for having this opportunity to tread on the commons, really. And his point of view on the character, he kind of saw him as somebody who was turning innocent people into drug dealers because they're not on the radar. And this is a little bit what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, where when Jacob heard that Simon had been in trouble with the law a few years ago, he was a little bit worried at first. But then when he found out it was just, worrying little granny bothering, he didn't mind so much. So Harvey goes around looking for people that are susceptible and easily manipulated into taking this turn into a life of crime, but not being picked up by the police by it, because they just, as he said, he's under the radar. He said that he wants him to be, he's quite an arrogant character. He feels that he can't be touched. So I don't know whether that's going to come around and bite him in the bum at some point, which it obviously has for Jacob, because he was also...
is there a bigger fish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. He says he doesn't have any sympathy for anybody and it's all about self-gain, and I definitely got that from tonight's performance. He didn't care that he was, what effect he was having on Simon. He was clearly well out of his depth. He was like, well...
Living the dream. Imagine how liberating it would be to not care about anybody but yourself.
He talked about his costume that helped him get into the role. He said it kind of gave him a bit more swagger.
I know
his
this.
Boots and his trainers.
Listen,
bit of
I'm
bling.
reading what you've written here, and it sounds really funny to me because he gave himself a parting.
Not to look tough, but because he wanted to look a little bit different to how he's looked in other things.
I know this is don't mean to take the mick, but it's just kind of imagine him in front of a mirror and sort of like looking at himself like, I don't know how to do this, and then he suddenly has an idea and gets a comb and just like parts his hair and goes, I have done it. I am a new man. They won't recognise me. Mother, don't be scared. It's me, Will.
He says he doesn't want to be a cartoon baddie.
Good. Because this is what we were saying, weren't we?
Yeah.
About
he is not coming across as a cartoon baddie at all so far. He says he wants to be like the real people who are out there on the street there. He said there will be an element of dark comedy in there, but he said really important that there's this fear factor surrounding Harvey. He said he's a bit apprehensive about being a villain in a story with characters that people care about.
Don't worry about it.
Hoping that people are going to get into this and watch and enjoy the story. And,
who is he talking about? Because so far the main victims have been Leanne, who's
people like Leanne.
I had really into Leanne recently, but she's become quite annoying. Simon, who is a drivelling moron, and R. Kelly, who I was kind of hoping would die.
People like Kelly. I'm sorry to break that to you.
Are you joking? I can't get behind this.
He says at the end of the day, he wants people to say that Harvey was a good baddon.
Wow, good.
So
he's angling for the wrong award.
That's the extent of my notes from the press day.
Do you think?
Well, oh yeah, maybe. But it was a really, really fun experience. But it has been funny. It's been unusual watching Coronation Street since, because this was obviously a month ago. So some of the stuff that's been going on now, I've known for a lot longer than I would ever know any other spoilers before, and I've kind of not liked.
Do you like it? No. You gonna do it again?
Well, I don't know. I might do.
You're gonna complain if you don't get invited?
It's difficult. Yeah, maybe that's a problem. It's been difficult knowing things. And not being able to confirm or deny theories or even speculate. You've never had that problem
before, have you?
What?
Knowing things. Well, you've never been burdened with that, have you?
Sometimes I know what's happening.
That's me being me.
I know. Sometimes I'll know what's going to happen, but maybe not this far in advance. But it was really, really fun experience going on that press day. So thank you very much, Alison Sinclair, for letting me on your chat.
It's good. It's a positive. Like, one good thing that's come out of the pandemic is that we actually got to experience a press day, because it was a lot of fun. Set up for remote viewing, which is very handy.
Yes.
When you're based in Southampton and you're talking about things that happen in Manchester.
Exactly. So just before we move on to the next story, I just wanted, what do you think about Nina and Asha splitting? Were you surprised that they split so early?
Well, even just a week ago, or however long ago it was, I said I don't know if they're going to be together next year.
I know. I'm surprised that it was so soon, though.
I am.
So I didn't, even though I said I knew some things that were happening, I didn't know that they were going to split up. I didn't know that they were going to get embroiled in it with the drugs and.
But I kind of imagine they're going to get back together again.
Yeah, I kind of do as well. But then I think Nina was being very open and honest with Roy, and if she does get back with Asha, I'm thinking no, because it's clearly not right.
No, but I think she might have said those things because she was trying to justify in her own mind. Sometimes when this is the thing that I talked about this bit before. You're not so smart, I think it's called. But basically, quite often, you will make a decision and then you will come up with reasons after the fact to justify what your decision was. But they weren't actually part of your decision-making process. You just trick yourself into thinking that it was. So her saying, oh, you were very dissimilar from one another, I think that was just her retroactively applying that. I don't think that's an issue, because you really like the Spice Girls and, I'm not... much.
Chalk and cheese and everything.
Well, this is the thing. It really doesn't make any difference.
I found it fascinating how Nina talked about how the age gap was, and it's not, you know, when you're a child, a couple of years is a lot, isn't
Yes,
it? She
is.
said the age gap felt even
she's
more
not a child.
apparent.
Yeah.
Nina has kind of grown up. Asha likes a little mix, and maybe if Asha does grow up in a few years, then maybe Nina will feel like she wants to give another pop then. But
yeah, because the age gap's already pretty big for that age group.
Yeah.
And then you add in that Nina's had to be quite a mature person, and Asha hasn't. And I think Nina was being a bit, I don't know. She basically said that I've had to grow up because I didn't have the support that Asha had. And I think that Asha would argue that perhaps that it wasn't quite as an idyllic experience as perhaps Nina imagines it to be, as somebody that didn't have that support system. But, you know, she's right to say that Asha's had, you know, a nanny, a dad, a twin brother.
Yeah, it's another world. I think that I don't know what I think. I really enjoyed Nina kind of musing over with Roy about, you know, life.
I think what happened was they entered into it with different expectations, and Asha really made this relationship into a fantasy in her mind.
Yeah, she thought it was romance of the
really
century.
Didn't
right from the start.
Yeah,
Nina was saying
she idolised Nina.
Like right from the start, Nina was saying, "Let's take it slow."
Yeah. And Nina's been putting the brakes on
today when
the whole
she was
time.
saying we were fab as friends. That kind of ties into what we were saying. A lot of people before this romance started, before the kiss in the cafe, people were saying, "Oh, I really love the friendship between Asha and Nina. I wonder if they'll get them together and turn them into a lesbian couple together." And
we were saying, no, we just want a good friend.
Yeah, we did, and maybe they are better as friends, because I've not liked them as a couple, but we've not really seen them much as a couple because Nina's been backing off so much.
Yeah, they haven't really been a couple probably because of COVID restrictions, as well as everything else. I think
I don't mind one way or another if they do.
I don't really mind, but it's a shame to lose a lesbian couple. No labels. But I keep trying to avoid saying the word lesbian because they don't like that word. But it is representation for people that are not represented on the show. So it's a shame to lose out on it. And I think that, but I do think it's an important part of the experience of gay women to have this kind of, you know, almost like a girl crush infatuation where somebody came on really strong and somebody else didn't like it. It can't all just be either, you know, absolute tear-streaked tragic deaths, carnage, or I can't even think of it, you know.
There's usually no alternative with these soap kind of lesbian relationships.
Either a really nice, uncomplicated and unproblematic lesbian couple, or this kind of like really awkward, you know, whose side are you even on? I don't know. I think it's nicely complicated, and it enriches the kind of experience of gay characters on the show.
What I think is a shame, I suppose, is that we talked on the podcast just recently about how Corrie seemed very invested in this relationship and examining it, and it isn't just about force, snogging, let's go to bed. You know, they've talked about their feelings and we've seen it develop properly, and it's a shame that we don't get more of that because so many relationships are just let's throw these two characters together.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But you know, I said that last time, but you know that's not strictly true because we've had the minutiae of Peter and Carla's relationship for about 10 years or whatever, and I don't care anymore. I'd rather be invested in two characters for a short space of time like this than to have it drag on forever and ever and ever and just get sick and tired of.
I think if they don't go back together, people will be talking and wondering when it will happen, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I also think that people will rightfully say, can we please have a gay female couple, because we don't have that representation.
I'm interested in the fact that these characters are now in with the drug story, because I've enjoyed the drug story, I've enjoyed this story, and merging them is quite delicious for me.
Really? I don't think it's going to continue beyond this week.
You think R. Kelly's going to get better and that's going to be the end of it?
They'll be like, oh, we've reconfirmed what our hypothesis had been before this, that drugs are bad.
I mean, we're assuming that Kelly will be okay. I just really hope Jacob is going to be okay. I really, really hope Jacob's going to be okay. I'd be gut. I mean, it'd be quite exciting, and it'd ramp up the stakes if Jacob was killed by this, wouldn't it? Because Simon would be not only am I in this dark and dodgy world where people get locked in the boots of cars and everything, but my mate at the chip shop has been killed.
And guess what?
What?
His liver and his exact match for Peter
Barlow. That'd be handy.
Ah.
Right, let's move on to the next story. We go into our short stories now. Telesales and marketing. Back to the less high stakes stories of the week.
My go.
It is your go. You're right. I just feel like I've got a bit of a sore throat or something
really
coming on. I feel a bit hoarse and croaky. I'm a bit Phyllis Pierce today.
Well, I've got Coke or coffee, and you don't like either of them. On Monday, Todd is not happy at the news that Dylan wants to come over in the holidays, which I think is a bit harsh because he was in, what was that programme he was in? Brassic? What was he in?
No, not Brassic. The old Jude was in Brassic. I can't remember.
What was the show he was in?
Don't know.
He's in a show, so don't be rude. Sean is feeling shunned at work, and Kirk's annoyed with him because Kirk suddenly decided that he's like the moral compass of Weatherfield.
Didn't like Kirk this week.
No, I'm glad he fell over. I was really vindictive this week. Ridian shows up. Hurrah!
I love Ridian. He's like a really creepy looking guy. I know that
don't make fun of people's faces.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that there's just the way he's made up. His makeup. I know he's done it himself, I guess. His costume, everything just looks so like fake and superficial.
Of course it's supposed to
and
be.
It fits perfectly with his personality.
Yeah.
I love it. I love his accent.
I love this accent, and there was a scene at some point where Todd and on Wednesday, Todd and Ridian were talking, and it was like Ridian has this very thick Welsh accent, and Todd, who's actually the actor's actually Welsh in real life, is putting on his northern accent. And I wonder whether when they said cut, I wonder if they were just
speaking in Welsh.
Do you think that they can both? Well, I know that Gareth Pearce speaks Welsh. So on Monday, so Ridian's like, oh, you can't give up now. You've got to capture your dreams. You'll never miss
Gemma,
every.
What's he saying in Welsh accent?
I'm not going to do it. You miss every swing you don't hit. Or I don't know.
He's just like the sales pattern that he uses to get his customers.
It's all boss babe stuff. It's like you've got to. Your dreams are in your hands.
Yeah, he's just trotting out.
I
these
know you can do it.
lines.
I've got of all the people that I know, I've got faith in you the most. You're the one that can do this. If anyone can,
he says, you've got something about you, Sean. I know I say this to everybody, but when I see you, I see something different.
Oh God.
I think you can really do it. Just don't give up. Keep trying.
All right. Well done. Kirk's narky at Sean because he's annoyed that Sean's roped Gemma into this sales thing and cost her a load of money. Kirk
was like mini Steve this week because every time he seemed to show up in a scene, it was just to
admonish people.
Yeah.
Kirk's fallen over because pride comes before a fall. And Sean's listening to his headphones, and literally every other person in the entire factory also was not listening to Kirk, which I think it kind of reminds me of Murder on the Orient Express, where everyone's like, what's that? Someone's died? I didn't know.
Oh, what I liked about this is we actually got to see Sean do some sewing. Is this the first time?
Yeah, I think so.
In like 8, 9, 10 months, or even ever in that new factory, actually, that we have seen somebody sitting at a sewing machine.
Maybe they had the machines on back order.
Yeah,
they've only just turned up. Yeah, nobody hears him, but it looks like he's fine. And Nick is there. Nick finds him, doesn't he? Because nobody else hears this.
Yeah.
And
because Sean is the only worker in the factory.
No, there was another person behind him who also was listening to their headphones.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. There was this famous murder case in America where this guy was shot to death on the main street of a town, and there were like 40 witnesses, and nobody said they saw anything because they all hated him so much. That. I think I've said it before on the podcast. This is what it reminded me of. Everyone's like, I don't care if Kirk fell over. He's stupid.
Oh, they love Kirk.
He was being a bit of an annoying guy. I can only think of swear words. He slipped on one of the leaky bottles of body serum, and Nick is confused. Why is all this stuff being stored here? Because I certainly didn't give you permission to say that you could put them here. And Sean's like, oops, oh dear. Kirk was told that Nick said it was fine, so he's annoyed again on top of all the other reasons why he's annoyed with Sean. And Nick says, you could have killed Kirk, because you know he's dumb. He could have gone through a window. Sean...
If he'd have landed on his head, though, it would have been fine.
Might have knocked some sense into him.
Yeah.
Sean saves Nick the aggro and quits his job. Kind of like, not in a huff, but...
That was fairly amicable, wasn't it?
Well, he was like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to, he's not like the best sewer that they've got.
No. So so that's kind of the end of that, really.
So Todd's talking to Eileen and says, don't let Dylan come round. I'm sick and tired of people living here. It's like, that's a bit rich, considering you're a grown man telling your mum that you don't want her friends to come round.
Yes.
Sean tells Todd and Eileen about what happened and the fact that he has not got a job anymore. And he's like, oh, the rent. Maybe I'll just owe it to you. And Eileen's like, I don't think that's right. I'm trying to be assertive here. And Todd and Sean gets a bee in his bonnet because he can see that Todd's been in Eileen's ear about how Sean really shouldn't be there.
So he gets a little bit offended, doesn't he?
Oh, it goes off. Wednesday, Todd sees Ridian in his flash car and he's all very impressed with it, and he goes to have a look, and then Abby comes out of the house while Ridian's distracted and sees Todd and says, oh yeah, we work on these cars, this is that lease guy. And he's like, what do you mean? Ridian said he bought this. And Abby says, no, this is a lease car. We do all their whatever. And Todd goes back to Abby and says, can you get the person who leased this car? Because I want to find out some more information. And he says no. She says no. And he says, oh, I don't even care. I don't even know what that scene was about particularly.
Oh, nothing really. It's just him confirming his suspicions. He's building up his portfolio of evidence that Ridian is, a bit of a dodgy geezer. I don't know why Todd's so invested in this.
This is what I don't get, because unless he's like, haha, I'm gonna push Sean further into this because I'm like the Loki of Coronation Street and I like mischief.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's got a bit of a soft spot for Sean.
Ridian's got this photo of this well-off looking guy and he's showing it to Sean saying, oh, this guy was in the same place as you 3 years ago and now look at him, he lives in a massive house, he's got his own duck pond.
And a hot tub.
It's the same, it's actually combined. It's a hot tub.
It's just a rubber duck.
And it really stinks because all the poo's getting heated up. And honestly, I think
bubbling around.
I think he wishes he hadn't had it put in, to be honest. But you don't make the same mistakes as him. But you could be him in 3 years' time. Yeah. With separate hot tub and duck pond. Todd tells Eileen about this and he's like, oh, I'm worried about this because I've suddenly grown a conscience. And he pesters Eileen to mention this to Sean. So she agrees to, but Sean doesn't want to hear it because he completely trusts Ridian. He's got a fancy car. He's got a photo of a guy with a duck pond. How can you fake this? Eileen says, you need to tell Ridian where to go. So Sean just like, whatever the last person spoke to him, he believes what they say. So he speaks to Ridian, he comes away going, I'm going to have a duck pond. Then he speaks to Eileen and he comes away going, he's calling me. Then he speaks to Ridian and he's like, no, duck pond. What does he want a duck pond for? Anyway, he goes to the cafe. So he can put his
flamingos in it.
Yeah, I would actually love a flock of flamingos, but I'd only like them if they could do evil deeds.
Evil flamingos?
Yeah. Don't you think that'd be cool?
You'd never suspect the flamingo.
Exactly, it's like my flamingo
Nobody
gang.
ever suspects the flamingo.
Sean meets Ridian in the cafe and says, you're a liar. And Ridian says, actually, just because I lease a car doesn't mean that I am not rich. Because actually, if you're like me, you change your car every couple of years. So why would you buy it?
Yeah, he says that if my clients see that I've got the latest car, it helps them, feel at ease and that they can trust me. But I really am really rich and successful.
Yeah. You also could be rich. Did I mention this? And I think you are going to do very well.
You're going to go a long way,
potential. Sean. I want you front and centre at my next big sales talk. You're gonna get more than one duck pond. Sean sees Todd and says, well, I spoke to Ridian and he is definitely rich. And I don't care. I'm going to be a salesman and I'm going to become Duck Pond Mavin of Weatherfield. And then his flash car turns up and Todd says, "Why the hell have you got this car now? How can you afford this?" And Sean goes, "Don't worry, Ridian is leasing it for me and he's paying for everything."
He thinks that he may have to pay that back at some point.
Me thinks that perhaps Ridian got Sean to sign something and said it was just some little inconsequential contract something or other. And it's going to turn out Sean's paying for Ridian's car as well as his own.
Wouldn't surprise me. How did you feel about this story now it's had a bit more time dedicated to it? I think this is the most we've seen this in 1 week. And I know that it was in no way the A story, but I know it feels like they've given it a bit more to breathe. And I suppose I'm surprised that it's still going still.
I'm really surprised they've picked Sean.
Why?
To do this storyline, because I don't think he's a very sympathetic character, and he's also not the sort of person who typically is a target for people like this. Ridian and people like him prey more often, and I'm not on sort of mums who want to earn money for their kids and can't go out to work for various reasons. It's
Sean wants to get more money to impress Dylan.
I know he does. I know he does. But can you see the difference between doing an MLM story and choosing a character who is really hard up, who needs the money to feed their children, and is roped into even ever more desperate measures to maintain the sales targets, and versus a man who really is quite comfortable and is sort of trying to live a lie to impress his kid, who actually never really expressed that much interest in his father providing for him.
No.
He's very happy where he is.
Sean just is trying to compete with Violet for his own.
Yeah, Sean is being quite vain here, and
a bit
self-destructive again, and somewhat unsympathetic. I think, because I really was interested in the MLM thing, because I've been kind of fascinated with some of the stories that have come out about how comprehensively it can ruin your life to be part of some of these schemes. And I think it's a really important thing for Coronation Street to tackle, but again, I think they've picked the wrong character. The same with Sean and his homelessness storyline, because I think that Sean is a very controversial character. I think he's liked by lots of people, but I don't think he's a universally liked character.
No, not quite. I don't think he's despised by a lot more people than he's liked.
I'm trying to be tactful about this. So I like Sean, pick but I do characters where the fundamental basis of the story really requires you to like or sympathise with the character that is going through it.
I wonder
because both of these things are, the homelessness stuff and the MLM stuff, are things that can be really misunderstood by people, and a lot of the time people do blame the victims of these things for falling, or lots of times people blame homeless people for being homeless. They think they've done something wrong. Lots of times people blame victims of MLM schemes for being not clever enough to see through these sophisticated tricks. And so to pick somebody that people already are not actually sympathetic towards feels like a kind of shooting yourself in the foot at the very beginning.
Maybe they're just trying to make us
it ain't working.
Sympathise with Sean. Like, how on earth can we get people to like Sean? Because he's not going anywhere. Maybe this will make people feel sorry for him. I don't know. But even I don't have any beef with Sean at all. I quite like him, really. I do seem to think that he deserves whatever he's got coming to him with this, especially after
he's literally been confronted with the negative impact that this is having.
Yeah. And he's just turning a blind eye to it.
And he's literally been warned as well.
Yeah, he's been warned. He's been given, this proof that Ridian's a bit, not as honest as he once thought that he was. And he's still, saying, oh, no, he's saying, I don't care. I believe you.
He's kind of blinded by greed, and it's difficult to sympathise. Yeah.
Although, is it greed? Because he wants the money for Dylan.
He wants a duck pond.
He is such a superficial character that he would love the high life, I suppose. But I think we're supposed to think that he's doing it for Dylan.
I can see that perhaps we're supposed to think, he's lost sight of the original reason that he got into this, yada yada.
Oh well, we'll see. It's not over yet. I'm I'm not hating this story. I'm enjoying that it still feels fresh and different.
Yeah.
Sean having a story.
I'm glad that they've picked something feels topical and
Yeah.
it's not been done before.
No, and as I say, Ridian is fantastic. I want him more. Or do not? And will the shine wear off him if I see him more? We're just treated to these occasional.
The only thing I'll
glimpses.
say about Ridian is that he is definitely feels like a comedy character to me, and.
Yeah, well, I think in a way we're supposed to be egging Ridian on when he's conning Sean. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think if you were trying to do an MLM story that was sympathetic to people that get sucked into these things, you wouldn't pick somebody that's quite so obviously a flim-flam man.
Yeah, when I'm watching him, I'm going, how could anybody fall for this?
He's like the guy in The Simpsons who turns up to sell them a monorail.
He is. He's totally the Lyle Langley of Weatherfield. You're right. He is.
Monorail,
And even though he was a villain, he was so fun to watch.
Yeah, he's charismatic.
Oh, Phil Hartman, R.I.P.
I know.
But yeah, no, he is, and we're almost enjoying watching him screwing Sean over
fleecing
in a
him.
similar way that when Todd was being a bit manipulative with what's his name, Paul and Billy, 4 or 5 months ago, we were kind of secretly cheering
Going,
Todd on because it was a lot more fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I'm enjoying that storyline still. Now, still bubbling away and heading towards very obvious train wreck, it seems, is the Downward Dob story, and there wasn't a whole lot that happened
Can I just say, this week there was so much pet hate on Coronation Street. I couldn't quite cope with it. This is probably another thing that wound me up.
Yeah. So we find out more about these yoga lessons that Tyrone's having at the community centre or speed dial or wherever it's supposed to be. And surprise, surprise, yes, Alina is going to those with him because he's accidentally taken her yoga mat home by mistake. And
Why?
Fizz, I've seen different reactions to her behaviour on Monday.
Yes, this is
because she
interesting.
kind of makes fun of Tyrone and is like saying, oh, anyone would think that you fancy her, and he's like, oh yeah, haha, hilarious. And she kind of she kind of goads
really
him later,
lathering
doesn't
it
she? She's
on
trying to
Vic.
get him to admit that he fancies Alina, and she just thinks the whole thing is hilarious.
She's being
that
very
somebody
patronising.
as old as him would be going out, would be interested.
Well, it's not even
or
that. It's like,
capable
how
of
do you
attracting
think-
the attention of this young girl.
Yeah, how do you think you, Tyrone, you clapped out old bloke, are going to get Alina to fancy you?
Yeah.
And she doesn't even realise she's actually insulting herself.
She, at the end of the Monday's episode, apologises to him a bit for teasing him. I think she still carries on later in the week.
Yeah.
She says, I know you don't fancy her. You're old enough to be her dad. And Tyrone is clearly a little bit offended at our accusation of being way out of Alina's league. So on Wednesday, we get the opportunity to see a bit of bonding over dead dogs between Alina and Tyrone, because her poor dog back in, I've written Romania here because I think it is Romania, isn't it? I think so. Is dead.
What's the name of the dog?
I don't know. I didn't write it down. So and we see a difference in how Seb reacts to this news. He doesn't really care.
He
because
goes, ha ha ha, dogs.
He has not had pets, it seems, so he's doesn't
like,
understand.
he's like, I can't generate any sympathy because I've never had a pet. Like, really,
I know.
you can't. So what? That makes no sense. That's like me saying I don't understand why people like their sisters.
Well, but before Seb had his hair down again a bit this week, didn't he? It's longer and longer. He's going to be able to sit on that soon. He's
It's luscious.
He's not
It's
interested.
like a waterfall of gravy.
But Tyrone is, because he's
Yeah.
Addo's moniker, and it was very nice to get a shout out to Greyhound Monica. They all go for a coffee together, Tyrone and Alina, so she can have a good old cry about it.
Yes.
Another person comes in with zero sympathy, Sarah Louise.
Well,
who-
she's like, oh, I'm really sorry about the death in your family. Take as much time off as you need. Who was it that died?
What? A dog?
To be honest, I can see the kind of like we're quite busy though, you know.
Yeah.
Not the whole week, maybe. Come back tomorrow, won't you?
I think an employer at a family, it's not it's not a family business, Underworld, obviously, but it's a small business where everyone's kind of friends in a way. I could understand somebody, your boss, sympathising if a dog has died and giving you a bit of time off, but. Yes, I just found it funny when Sarah's like, oh yeah, I had a pet. Well, we had this rabbit what, Benny? And then somebody's like, no, it's Barney. Oh yeah, that was quite funny.
Yeah. People aren't very. Yeah, and she says, we have a dog. I stroke him sometimes.
Yeah, I as much as she was like
trying to sympathise, she wasn't really doing a very good job.
No. And then we have a little bit more insensitivity from Seb in the pub later, just to rub it in thick that she needs to go elsewhere if she wants a sympathetic shoulder to cry on. And when they're having a game of Snog, Marry, Avoid in the pub later, Alina mentions that there is maybe someone that she's got her eye on. Seb thinks it's him because he hasn't realised he's been just offending her for the whole of the day.
Idiot.
But yeah, so this confirms that she does indeed have an eye on Ty.
Wrong.
I don't know why. I'm just rhyming here all the way over.
I thought you were going to do another rhyme.
No.
No, I don't understand this either.
I can understand why he would fancy her.
Tension where he helped her with her spreadsheet.
Yeah, I mean, he's pulled out of doing these yoga classes, hasn't he? I mean, I guess because he feels like there's the potential for something to develop. But
I'm really sorry, but I have absolutely no sympathy for anybody who pursues a relationship with someone who they know is in a relationship already and has children.
Absolutely.
Really can't. I really liked Alina, but
loved Alina
if she thinks that this is a good idea and that she's blameless at all, if she's starting to have feelings for him, she needs to give herself a slap.
This is not heading in a direction that I feel like I'm going to be particularly happy with.
And it's nobody's in particular. It's not neither of their. It's not her responsibility more than it's his responsibility. But it's certainly not. She's not blameless.
There are echoes of Kevin and Molly here as well,
really
and that doesn't sit very well with me, or would it with most Coronation Street viewers, I imagine, because Kevin and Molly's relationship is seen as a bit of a joke.
No reason to pursue a relationship with somebody who has children, is in a relationship.
What was your impression of Fizz on Monday? Because go
on.
I came away with it because I love Fizz and I would defend Fizz to the hilt, and I came away thinking, she's being quite nice about it. Really, she's just giving him a gentle tease. Some partners, wives, whatever, would be like, you fancy this young girl, that you wind your tongue back in, mister, I'm not having any of this, no.
Yeah.
So I thought it was quite nice that she was just gently teasing him about it. And Tyrone has also been known to be a bit of a teaser. He spent the last 24 months teasing Evelyn about her relationship with Arthur. So he really should be able to take it. So I think it was absolutely fine for Fizz to do that. I thought she was lovely. I love Fizz.
Okay, I can see where people were coming from, because it was laid on very thick. It was still in character for Fizz, but she was being relentless with it a little bit, and she did make fun of him in front of Alina, which did not help. Because he sort of tripped over and she went, ha ha ha, you idiot, fell over. Which is not, it's not clever or funny, is it? The main difference here was that Tyrone wasn't giving any back. And normally Fizz and Tyrone would tease each other a bit. And I think they had a bit of a healthy relationship where they would make fun of each other. And it was kind of marked that he didn't respond or reciprocate at all. And he was just kind of like, getting really offended.
That to me just sat in the classic Corrie tradition of the woman in the relationship is holding all the cards and comes out on top. It didn't at all to me
I
feel.
thought it felt like it was pushing a bit.
Yeah, no, not
and
at all.
And it was it felt like it was deliberately setting her up to alienate him.
Oh, it is. It totally is. It's
which is really annoying
clear.
Because men can definitely stray without being pushed into it by their naggy wives or whatever. Not that they're married.
No.
So I think
she
was being mean. She was being mean, but they're like that. They're normally like that with each other. But the difference was this time he was not doing it back to her, and he didn't think it was funny.
It didn't.
And if somebody, but
the
thing if somebody's making a joke and you don't find it funny, then it is mean, and you need to stop. Can you see?
Yeah, I guess, but I think she could have just read him the riot act for even looking at this girl, and she didn't.
Yeah, but I feel this is a bit more personal level than you do, because of the two of us, you're probably the one who'd more likely to get somebody to. I'm not going to catch anyone's eye, am I? I'm a slug woman. You're going to be, and I sit here alone. Who am I going to seduce? The postman?
Who am I going to seduce?
You've got all these colleagues that I don't have a problem with it, but you know, socially, you know more people, therefore you know more women than I do.
I think that's probably the only thing that I've got going for me.
You're very attractive and you're very funny and you're very kind. You're very rude. But if you came back and you were
Not even Alan Halsall levels of handsome.
If you came back from work and I thought you were mooning over a girl who was, you know, how old is Alina? 21 or whatever?
Something,
I wouldn't go, ha. I'd be like, I'm going to cut your balls off and make you eat them.
She would, everybody. I've had this threat before. This isn't new to me.
Well, if you would rather be with someone else, I'm not going to make funny jokes about it. I'll leave, or you can leave. I'm not having it.
Right.
But you see what I mean? I wouldn't go, ho.
Let's get this
because I think I would be worried about it.
I know you would. The Yasmin story. I don't even remember what's happened
my
here.
One? I'm going to do it anyway.
Maybe.
Right. This was the
here.
third. This was like, is this the third person who hates pets this week?
Oh yeah, Alya.
So Alya's worried that Yasmin is moving a bit fast with Elaine, because she's moving in too quickly. And Yasmin's like, don't worry about it. Me and Elaine, we've got a bond that you can't begin to understand. And Alya's like, okay, good, but don't let her bring Tinkerbell round because I hate dogs. So Elaine brings Tinkerbell round, and Alya's like really sulking. George comes round to apologise to Yasmin about the other week when he was being pushy. She tries to sell him the community centre, but he says, sorry, I've already bought somewhere else, which is the council property next to Victoria Gardens.
Which is what we noticed a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Because they had some scaffolding or something outside the front of it, and I was like, what's going on there then?
So Elaine and Yasmin are chilling with a glass of wine later, and she says she's still going to try and sell the community centre, and Elaine gives her a little poem about positivity and self-affirmation and stuff. And
yeah,
nice. Yeah,
that's
so I was just really mad with Alya about like hating pets. What's her problem?
I'd like seeing Tinkerbell. Is Tinkerbell moving on, or are they keeping her?
No,
because
she was being fostered.
So is she moving on?
Elaine was looking after her while they were finding a home for her, and now she's got a home, so she's going to stay with someone else.
Oh, but Tinkerbell was really cute,
was
and I
so
don't even like
goddamn
dogs.
Should we get a dog like that? If I got a Pomeranian, would you like it?
I don't know. What would you think, Abby? Abby's just come to join us. I think she.
Abby, you're fat now. You can take her on.
We had Abby weighed this week. She's gone up a little bit.
Gone up by 1 kilogram.
Right. Abby Ever After. What this story basically boils down to, they were looking for a wedding venue. They don't. Abby's quite excited about the possibility of being married at Beggar's Paradise, which is an old club that she went to.
It sounds
when
like
she was
a really
younger.
romantic location.
Well, it's full of graffiti and sick, so she thinks that's perfect for our wedding, Kevin. They come
Listen,
back from
can I
going to
just
see
say-
it, and it's apparently been renovated. How
I
dare they?
can't believe it. I'm not keen on. I'm not that keen on theme weddings, but you know, it's down to you. Do what you like with your wedding. But ironic weddings in places where they're sick on the floor, don't get it. I don't get that. That's
So
taking it a bit far.
Kevin, Debbie comes along and she's like, look, I'm really sorry about everything that's happened with Ray and everything. Why don't you come and get married at Ray's old hotel, which is now my hotel? And Abby's like, no, I don't want to marry anywhere associated with Ray, thank you very much.
But
and
it's
I'm
free.
thinking, sorry, Abby, but the only 2 wedding venues currently available on the street are the Bistro, once owned by Ray, and the hotel, once owned by Ray. Unless you're going to get married in the
Speed
florist shop or something, I mean, afraid you're low on options here. So for the rest of the week is basically Kevin saying, oh, I think we should take Debbie up on the offer, and Abby saying, no, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
And in the end of the day, they find somewhere else, don't they? Somewhere that's
With
got
windows.
with lots of windows. And Kevin goes to see Debbie to say, oh, look, sorry, we're going to have to turn you down. And Debbie's like, it's fine, Abby's already told me.
Also, I've already had inquiries for that day, so
Everything's fine.
no hard feelings.
Yeah. I'm glad that they're still keeping the animosity between Abby and Debbie, although it's kind of a shame because I like both of those characters
Yeah,
and I don't
no.
want to take sides, really.
I know it's difficult because, like, I'm watching this going, oh man, Abby's so petty, but I would be this petty if I was her.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a grudge against somebody, whether it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, it doesn't erase how you feel about it. But you wouldn't want to get married somewhere where your whole day was just tinged with you being mad at them.
Yeah, I don't think Abby should be forced to get married in either of those places. Kevin was being very blind and deaf to Abby's objections. You know, she's got this massive problem with Ray, so they shouldn't have to marry her. I'd like Abby and Debbie to team up at some point, but
they
for now
really
it's
need to, because they're both super cool, amazing heroines of the street, and perhaps they'll have to unite their powers at some point. Yes, I am still watching the Marvel films, and defeat a common enemy.
I thought you were talking about Captain Planet.
No, he's a hero. He's going to bring pollution down to zero. What happened there? Failed.
Yeah.
So there you go. Next story.
Ronnie, he's back. He's living in Weatherfield. He's moving into the Rovers.
Moving in with Jenny. Jenny's such a flirt, isn't she? I love her.
I know. I wonder whether anything's going to happen there. And
I don't. That's not what I was saying. I just think that Jenny flirts with everybody.
And Aggie is away because she's seeing her aunt who's got long COVID. A nice reference.
Yeah.
And
pandemic reference.
Ed is trying to hide the fact that he's been going out getting drunk with Ronnie because Ronnie's still got a problem with Aggie in it. I think we are kind of guessing what's going on here, but we haven't. It's not been revealed yet, and that's about it with that, really. Just remind us. It feels it's a warm up to next week, I assume, when Aggie may well be back. I don't know.
I like the fact that he's at the living at the pub.
Yeah, I think that's a good move.
Yeah.
I mean, that room's been vacant since Scott left, I suppose. And I do like the character. Right? He's quite fun. I'm enjoying the Bailey scenes at the moment.
He's really breathed new life into the Baileys, which is good, because
he has.
When they said, "Oh, here's a new Bailey," and I was like, "It's not
Dee Dee, so I'm not interested.
So get me Dee Dee now."
Yeah, no, he's fun. He's fun.
I really, really want them to not tell us if they cast Dee Dee. I want her to come in as a surprise.
Do you?
I really need this. I need this.
I don't think there's any chance of that happening.
No,
I'm afraid.
I agree with you.
So, there was a lot. Was there a lot for me to like this week? I'm going to say there was a lot for me to like today. I think my week kind of was Monday. I thought was okay. Wednesday I thought was the pit, and today I was really quite invested in a lot of. And looking at the stories that we've got here, the Abby story, nothing really happened. The Yasmin story, nothing really happened. The Alina and Tyrone story, not much happened, and I'm not liking where that looks like it's going. The Sean story was a bit, it's so, such a C story, but it was nice to see Ridgeon again, I suppose. So for me, the Simon and Asha and Nina story really carried this week, but it carried it really quite high. God blimey, this Peter story's got to knock some points off of it, hasn't it? It really, really does. I would have gone higher, but I think because of that car crash of Wednesday, I'm going to be giving this week 3 pools of sick at Beggar's Paradise out of 5. What about you?
Well, I have to score this on... I can't score this on what Corrie was like, because I can't... To me...
You've seemed quite animated discussing it with me this evening, despite the fact that you started off Street Talk saying that you're over it at the moment.
I'm over it. I'm over it, so 2.
2?
I can't do it anymore. 2 dinner plate sized terrapins.
Oh yeah, this is what
Alya's childhood pet. Well, she had a hedgehog as well. Sorry. I'm sorry if anybody's out there who has a hedgehog as a pet, but you know that they're horrible, don't you? They're horrible crapping machines.
We have had
personal experience with somebody who cannot look after them, because they need a lot of looking after.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2, because I had a bad week, and it
so
just
sad.
tinged Corrie, and already I wasn't that into it. And then you get Peter and Carla again.
Okay.
No, didn't like it. So who's your character of the week?
My character of the week this week.
This is probably the lowest I've ever scored.
Don't know whether I want to say Jacob, but he wasn't really. But he's sadly going.
Last week.
Didn't we give it to Jacob last week? So I'm not going to give it to him again. I am going to say. I'm going to say.
I don't know. Everyone annoyed me.
I think Nina this week. It was mostly today, but I really appreciated her honesty.
She's very wise.
Yeah, she is. That's a really good word to describe her, actually. She's wise. She's reflective.
Yes, she has emotional maturity.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching her.
She's got perspective. I like her. Yeah, I'll give it to her as well.
Oh, nice.
I like her.
Snap.
I do think she's becoming more and more white every week, and I'm wondering when we're going to start to see, like, the bones and the the veins are going to become translucent.
I'm wondering when it's going to be revealed that she's got hepatic encephalopathy. And she's actually just a secret alcoholic.
She's got complete liver failure.
Yeah.
No. Doesn't it make you go?
Oh, maybe
yellow?
maybe there's like going to be a story where there's one liver going. Who will get it, Peter or Nina?
No, you're making fun of medical things. This is why I don't like it when things get too real on Coronation Street, because we like to make fun of everything, and you can't when it's real life.
Oh,
sad.
Doesn't matter.